Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Golden Kingdom. So, in the last episode, we bombed Palais quite a bit in our first operation to try and seize Palais and put them back up under the rightful rulership of Lord Ramus Torres. And also, we turned around and worked out a deal with Dirtia as well. So now Dirtia is allied with us. Morella is also allied with us. We also continue to do some operations in Wayland and such. We came to a unusual conclusion as far as the investigation into the bombing or whatnot. Basically, there was no conclusion. But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at with everything. The war is still ongoing. We're going to have our second operation here soon. So yeah, as you can see, once again, I've changed the stats. I've zeroed out every single thing that was giving me a negative stat. So we're pretty much good on that front. We got plenty of money coming in, plenty of authority coming in, plenty of energy coming in. I also changed the stats for some of our allies and enemies as such. Basically, I just zeroed out Lesbia. I didn't actually, increase it that much. I increased the opinion of the religious communities and such. I also decreased what else did I do? I decreased I think the stuff that was going on in Isa, I decreased that. So I don't know if it's actually still an ongoing thing. It might actually be under control now. Let's see, neutral Desnuris community. So I'm an ally to the crown. Oh, okay, yeah. I also increased the religious opinion. So the Rules community is happy with me. The Gokanis community is happy with me. Dasnuris is neutral. I don't know if that's actually the case. I think that's just as much as high as you can get it, because I believe I set theirs to 50 as well. So that might be just the limit on that as far as things go. I guess I could have went ahead and set this to true, so I would have had a full-blown King's Guard force to use. Again, I'm very curious. I'm curious about setting certain things to true or false in the backgrounds, because okay, so essentially the way some of the modding works is on the back end, you have certain things that are either true or false. If it's true, that means it's something that actually happened. If it's false, it means it didn't happen. So, for instance, for the limited Kingsguard force, it comes up with the decision to, fund either force or whatever. You can set it to false in the background, and that means you're going to get this modifier, as opposed to if it's set to true, then you'll have a fully funded Kingsguard force. Now, I'm not sure how that works out as far as, playing the game proper. I would think it wouldn't be too much of a problem. Just certain investigations and certain events wouldn't pop up, but you would still get the modifier here currently. But again, I'm not sure. I'm very leery about kind of touching that. I may touch it, in the as far as things that I do off camera on a different playthrough in my own spare time, just to see how it goes, just to see how certain events work. But again, I don't want to touch things too much, because I don't want to turn around and put myself in a situation where I'm, several hours into a game and then it crashes. I definitely remember that happening before I came back to YouTube. After my little break, I turned around and was playing Expeditions Rome. And I cheated in the very beginning of the game, of course. Great game, by the way. I really liked it. But I cheated and I got every single item, and I got 99 of each item. It wasn't a problem until I think near the end of the game. It bugged out a quest and there was nothing I could do, because I couldn't remove said item, and I would also have to go hours back into the game. And I think I had already been playing for several days at that point. So yeah, you have to be careful with your cheating. So that's my public service announcement for the time being. Anywho, let us see what Lesbia has in store for us. When we arrived in Perla, the press surged forward at me like a relentless horde, shoving their cameras and microphones my way. Their shouts and pleas for attention clashed against the stoic demeanor of the Lesbian security guards. These guards, clad in crisp, dark uniforms, formed a protective barrier around us, their eyes scanning for any reporter daring enough to breach their formation. Our convoy commenced its journey, a series of sleek black cars gliding through the bustling streets of Perla. As our convoy eased to a stop at the entrance of the yellow house, I stepped out onto the cobblestone driveway. The building itself was a small but imposing structure of classical design, its yellow painted walls standing out boldly against the greenery of the park. I was led into the waiting room, a space with an understated elegance, furnished with leather chairs and a mahogany table, where sunlight filtered through lace curtains, casting soft patterns on the floor. As I waited for Prime Minister Alvarez, my attention was captured by a mysterious-looking teapot, resplendent in its golden sheen. I'm going to inspect it this time. I started inspecting the teapot. The elegantly crafted vessel was engraved with intricate designs, delicate floral patterns interwoven with abstract shapes that reminded me of medieval resonant motifs. I leaned in closer, observing the way the light played off its surface. The piece was definitely made out of Rizian gold and looked far too ancient for its well-maintained shape. I wondered if it was an original Rizian artifact or an unrelated gift from another foreign dignitary. Whatever it was, I questioned why such a valuable artifact was left out in the open like this. But then again, those who were allowed into this room, world leaders and people of stature, would probably have the common sense not to disturb such a priceless relic. As I stood there, absorbed in thought, the doors opened and Prime Minister Alvarez came in. I see you immediately spotted your kingdom's goal, Your Majesty. It is an ancient resonant artifact uncovered in southern Lesbia. Quite a valuable item, I've been told. Ah, forgive me. He offered his hand, and I shook it. Please, let's get comfortable while we discuss our matters. On his gesture, we moved to the sofas and sat down. So, Your Majesty, you are aware that nobody in Lesbia nor our alliance supports of this visit. But since I still see Rizia as a potential partner in the region, I'm showing my respects to you. Lesbia does not approve of your invasion, and unless that reality does not change, there is not much I can offer you. But I guess you knew that already. Of course I did. Yeah, I don't honestly know why we came here, honestly. I think the reason why you still have this event one way or the other is, if I'm not mistaken, if you do find evidence of Lesbia's conspiracy and stuff like that, you can kind of use that as a bargaining tool to try to get him out of this war and such, which will, of course, negatively affect Palais. So, yeah. We don't need to let our conflict with Palais sour our relations with Lesbia. I hate you, so no. Well, I'm here to discuss all of that today. I'm concerned about the reaction of the Edo. Lesbia has yet to announce any sanctions. I hope you will not follow through. I don't care about that either. I hope we can set a few things straight today. Nah, fuck you. Thanks for having us. I have to point out that there is not much I can offer in our discussion unless Rizia stops the war and retreats. Do you think Rizia can get away with the invasion of Palais just like that? The Grand Duchy of Palais is an important partner of Lesbia. We not only have deep economic ties, but recently have been establishing military ties as well. There's no justification for this war, and the Edo is discussing placing sanctions against Rizia. And if they go with it, you bet we will follow through as well. Not only with sanctions on Rizia, but with our active support to Palais. Active support. Are you saying Lesbia will enter the war, Mr. Alvarez? Rest assured, Lesbia doesn't see or want Rizia as an enemy. However, as a member of the Edo, we must do what we must. I'll say it again. Lesbia is against this war, and I have no choice but to support the defense of Palais, whether directly or indirectly. You'd prefer it to be indirect, I'm sure. You can't threaten me. Even if Lesbia enters the war, we will not stop fighting. Tomorrow, I will be signing off on a military support worth 10 billion Arcasian liras to Palais, as well as sanctions against Rizia. This is just the beginning, Your Majesty. Arcasia may also send 100 billion liras more to Palais, especially if Rumburg gives any active support. And if more atrocities take place, we will think about intervening directly. I believe our support can easily allow Palais to stand their ground. You don't want to deplete your gold reserves in a war of attrition, Your Majesty. If you're going to continue with your threats, I will end the meeting here. All right, let's do that. We both got up from our seats. I'm sorry you came all the way for this. Let's just call the meeting here. Goodbye, Mr. Alvarez. Have a good day. I stood up and walked out of the room with quick steps. Useless! And of course I don't care, so yeah. Palais welcomes additional Lesbian military support. Pelagian Duke Axel Reinhardt has expressed his gratitude to his Lesbian counterpart for increasing the amount of military support delivered to the Grand Duchy. The Duke highlights that continued support is required in order for Palais to successfully resist the Rizian invasion. Marzel Inovitz concert cancelled. Amidst growing calls for a boycott of Wessex artists that are connecting to the Zeal region, the city of Port Dresden has canceled the sold-out Marzel Inovitz concert, which was to be the only Rizian show of his Marcopa tour. ADO supports sanctions. Several ADO member states, including Lesbia, have announced their support for a set of sanctions against our kingdom, including travel bans, export restrictions, and asset freezing of Rizian state corporations. If implemented, these sanctions are expected to hit our economy hard, reducing our competitiveness on the global market. Okay. Suit yourself. Lesbian media reports Alvarez considering military intervention. Rumors have started swirling with lesbian media that during the recent state visit, President Alvarez has warned King Ramos that Lesbia will consider to directly intervene in his war against Palais. Should more atrocities take place, while a spokesperson for the lesbian president quickly added that currently no plans exist for boots on the ground, many worry that a wider escalation of the conflict is not off the table. You know, I do wish, again, it's just, you know, some of my wishful thinking and stuff. I do wish that in certain situations like this, I had the option to role play and just not even go to Lesbia in any form or fashion. Again, I don't want to. Why would I be going to Lesbia in this situation? Like, I have no reason to go to them unless I'm trying to negotiate with them or threaten them or use the projection of military force. So I'm not finna turn around and go to them in any form or fashion. If anything, it's dangerous for me to turn around and go to try and speak to their leaders. And I can't think of, well, I can't think of, or at least I don't know of any situations where, you know, of course, a leader of a sovereign country that was warring with another country went to, you know, go and speak and stuff like that, you know, who would be considered an enemy or something like that. So it's just kind of a weird situation, I guess you could say. I guess it would be the equivalent of like Syria and the Syrian president going to the United States to speak in Congress or something or whatnot. It's just, or speak to the president of the United States when they were in an active conflict against what would be considered, you know, the United States to a certain degree. So it's just kind of a weird thing. Anywho, Morella and Dirtia request diplomatic mediation. Morella and Dirtia have requested our involvement in mediating their diplomatic disputes. This significant undertaking involves preparing and guiding both nations towards resolutions. We must decide on the extent of its involvement, from leading a robust mediation effort to a more hands-off approach, or even declining the request entirely. Lead a massive mediation effort. That's going to be -3 authority and -3 budget, but we are doing that. Again, the hope is to get this Inter-Marcopan Pact going, so... Lorenzo Escobel and his team is currently leading a diplomatic mediation mission in Morella, and the same thing there. So yeah, let's keep going with this. Rizia to mediate Dirtia-Morella dispute. Following a formal request by both countries, Rizia is dispatching a diplomatic team to Dirtia and Morella, overseen by Rizia's Counselor of Foreign Affairs, Lorenzo Escobel, and containing famed diplomats Marcus and Cedric Rielfeld. The goal of the diplomatic effort is to resolve tensions between both countries and facilitate a constructive dialogue aimed at paving the way for future cooperation. All right, so let's deal with this council meeting. I'm not sure which one this is. I passed through the gardens of the palace towards to council chambers to meet with the council. What the hell? I passed through the gardens of the palace towards, I'm guessing that meant to be the council chambers to meet with the council. Uncle Hugo greeted me in front of the doors. Ramus, I'm glad that you made it. Commanding the armed forces must be taking its toll on you. I haven't seen you around much lately. The counselors are waiting for you. It is interesting too, now that I think about it, because when I opted to let Thaddeus control everything, there were different events, and I don't remember a lot of the dialogue saying the same things as this. I may be wrong because I might have been skimming through it. But yeah, it's nice that it actually reflects the fact that, yes, you are commanding these troops and you are working to try and get things done. So I like that little bit of nuance there. The counselors were already seated around the table, deep in conversation. When they noticed us enter, everybody rose from their seats. I'm having a bad day, so sit down and let's get to the point immediately. Good day, everybody. Counselors nodded and took their seats. Your Majesty, may I? Yes, Your Grace. I'll start with a quick general overview. In Your Majesty's reign, living standards have increased immensely. Our kingdom proudly provides the best standards, possibly in the entire Eastern Marcopa, to its citizens. Despite ongoing concerns of the working class, the working conditions within Rizian industry seem to be acceptable for most. But the war has complicated things a little. Thank you, Your Grace, for sharing the reports you received. While it's true that most workers are quite content with their lives, the industry leaders are still questioning the new regulations. Please explain what you mean by that, Miss Warner. The business leaders are already not very happy about the current situation. We should refrain from talking about the concerns of the workers at this moment. Okay, I appreciate your counsel, Miss Warner, but I disagree. I'm sorry to hear that, Your Majesty. Thank you for your comments, Miss Warner. I believe we can continue with the meeting. What would you like to talk about first, Your Majesty? Lorento, what's the state of our foreign affairs? Of course, Your Majesty. We've been recently condemned by a number of ADO member states for our invasion of Palais. They are threatening sanctions. In your meeting with Prime Minister Alvarez, he threatened to approve the sanctions as well. Unfortunately, all of this would be a crippling blow for our trade. We expected this to happen. This is not a surprise for us. Well, in any case, if they decide to make a move, they'll likely time it with the upcoming Alliance of Nations sessions. We may have a chance to have a word with Mr. Alvarez again there, or possibly even Mr. Reinhardt. Another important point is our scheduled meeting with the Wessex president. Your Majesty will have a chance to talk to President Smolik about the situation with Zeal. He has been uncooperative, and we don't know if we can still reach a resolution with him to ensure the return of Zeal. If all else fails, we can bring it up in the upcoming Alliance of Nations session. It doesn't matter what President Smolik thinks or does, Zeal belongs to us. We will get it back, Your Majesty. On the other hand, our trade relations with Morella are very positive. The final vote on the MITS issue, which will take place at the start of next year, will be the defining factor for our long-term relations with them. Great. This whole MITS thing has taken too long already. Our relations with Dirtia, on the other hand, have reached new heights. Their clashes with Morella and Wayland still remain a major concern. The fact that both they and Rumburg are rumored to be supporting the Blutish Freedom Front is an important factor in our relations with Wayland. He stopped for a moment to take a look at his notes. Oh, also Supreme Wiseman Asmal sent us a letter expressing gratitude to Your Majesty for showcasing some level of empathy, as he puts it, to the Golcondas community. Thanks for telling me. Of course, Your Majesty. And last but not least, Palais. But Your Majesty is already aware of the situation with them. While the superpowers are not giving much attention to our invasion, we're getting more and more attention from Marcopa as the operation progresses. Our efforts in influencing the international media are continuing. It seems to have some real effect in the democratic world, as their electorate have the power to change their governments. Still, I suspect additional condemnations and sanctions will still follow. We'll learn in the upcoming Alliance of Nations session, I'm sure. Palais will soon pay for everything. Our first operation will come to a successful end in the upcoming months. When our armies surround their capital, if the Duke is a logical man, we may be able to bring a quick end to the war. We will talk about the details very soon in a separate military briefing, Your Majesty. Thank you, Duchess Azaro. She saluted me. That is all for the overview, Your Majesty, but there's one thing I wanted to discuss with you. Despite it not being your initial intention, we may still be able to bring our neighbors together in a potential regional alliance. The collaborations and interdependencies we've formed thus far makes this a valuable strategy we can potentially pursue. I like the sound of it. Tell me more. With our current relations with our neighbors and the increasing pressure on our region by both the CSP and ADO, we have the perfect window of opportunity. More gas is a crucial bargaining chip that we have. We can provide cheaper gas to our other neighbors, connecting our economies even further. Our relations with Morella aren't as bad as they used to be. They can be a potential partner for us in the region. There's also Dirtia. We normalized our relations with them, and we can sway them to a possible pact if we can solve their disputes with our neighbors. Everyone in the region is looking for more energy sources. They're getting increasingly pressured by the CSP and the ADO to subjugate themselves to the interests of the superpowers. We are still on good terms with Rumburg and Grace, but our distant geographical proximity limits the benefits we can get out of that relationship. I truly believe that our national interests align with those of our neighbors, and if we can connect our economies further and create balanced dependencies on each other, we can ensure peace and unity in southern Marcopa. Do you think we can realistically form our own alliance in southern Marcopa? How would the superpowers react to that? They will not like it, of course, but what can they really do if we all come together to protect our independence? If we can lead such a peace initiative, I think this is realistically possible. It's all about ensuring that our countries are linked in a fundamental level that makes cutting ties a losing scenario for everyone. That is the only way to bring together countries with vastly different ideologies and cultures like we have in southern Marcopa, but it does come at the risk of alienating Rumburg. I'm willing to take that risk. We will follow through with this plan. Thank you, Your Majesty. We can start the process by reaching out to our neighbors and preemptively funneling some funds into leading this initiative. Shall I begin our efforts, Your Majesty? Yes, I want this alliance to happen. As you wish, Your Majesty. I will keep you updated as developments occur. Anything else you want to talk about, Your Majesty? What's the update on our military situation? With all due respect, Your Majesty, considering that we are at war, I'd rather leave such sensitive information to the war meeting. As the acting commander of our forces, you must be briefed by the General Staff directly. The operation will likely come to an end very soon. We can talk about the details after the council meeting. Thank you, Duchess Azaro. We will be victorious, Your Majesty, no matter what. She gave me a military salute. Thank you for your service, Your Grace. Anything else you want to talk about, Your Majesty? What's happening with the Rizian economy? Elena took out a large notebook, placed it on the table, and opened it up. As already mentioned, living standards in Rizia have increased drastically as a result of a combination of economic policies. We have a very significant amount of money flowing into our economy. That is a great indicator for the future. We also have enough reserves to experiment with and plan more projects. She turned the page. Of course, the war has influenced my department very negatively, to say the least. The war expenses are having bad effects on our economy, and if it continues for long, it can have a lasting impact on our growth. We're doing our best to end the war as quickly as possible. I know our military will come out on top, Your Majesty. I'm sure of it. We set a focus to further the Rizian resource economy when you ascended the throne. In terms of our energy situation, we have a very rigid energy economy with heavy reliance on certain sources. As long as our access to resources remain, this means a stronger future. Our production capacity has increased significantly. That's great news. Thank you for all your contributions, Miss Warner. With the current wave of robust economic growth sweeping through Rizia, buoyed by market incentives to attract fresh investments, we are witnessing a remarkable upsurge in the formation of thousands of new businesses. This trend is creating numerous job opportunities and boosting our employment rates, significantly contributing to Rizia's economic growth and enhancing its entrepreneurial vitality. Our nation is on a steadfast path to stand shoulder to shoulder with the great powers. Elena, your contributions are pivotal in this journey. Thank you. I'm committed to our nation's economic ascent and will continue to work tirelessly towards that goal. This concludes the economic analysis and overview. I think we've been through everything. Thank you for everyone's input. We can call this session over. The counselors bowed their heads in respect. When they left the room, I went to the balcony to get some fresh air. And then a shot went off and I died. That's what would happen in the main game. Branes, bustling with economic activity. Branes, on the periphery of our capital, has seen significant uptick in economic activity, with hundreds of new businesses springing up across town in recent years. Many of these businesses are choosing Huelas as their desired location due to its proximity to the capital, but with a lower cost of living, although this is steadily rising. I kind of wish I would have implemented price controls now. All right, Grace trade grows. There is a significant positive economic news arise as trade volumes with Grace nations has seen a substantial uptick, positively influencing our budget. This surge in trade presents an opportunity to further strengthen our economic ties and capitalize on the upward trend. Sure, our brotherly and sisterly nations are with us. And then they gonna get hit with them sanctions after the whole thing with Swordland. That's gonna suck. Grace countries rejoice at increasing trade. Several Grace countries, including Rumburg, have expressed their happiness about increasing trade levels between Rizia and the rest of the bloc, and hope it can increase even further in the future. Grace commends trade growth. Grace proudly acknowledges the significant growth in trade with the Kingdom of Rizia. This advancement is a direct result of our concerted efforts to foster stronger economic ties and collaborative initiatives. Our alliance is committed to further enhancing this fruitful partnership, ensuring mutual prosperity and economic development. I wonder how she's going to feel about that once we break ties with her and form our little alliance over here. Oh, God. Okay. Oh yeah, abolish the House of Delegates. Oh, this is going to be fun. Begin South Marcopan Alliance Initiative. Funding the South Marcopan Alliance Initiative. We are establishing the basis of a South Marcopan Alliance, a significant venture aimed at enhancing our international presence and influence. The plan involves setting up the organization's headquarters in Port Drazen and a public relations office in Constantinium, Kairut. This initiative requires careful consideration of the level of funding and resources to be allocated, balancing our aspirations with fiscal prudence. I want to allocate a large amount of funds for this. Okay. And the next thing is abolish the House of Delegates. The House of Delegates has long stood as a ceremonial body with Rizia's governance, comprising two parties. It serves only a perfunctory role in the Rizian government, and many members of the nobility view it as wholly unnecessary. Calls for its abolition have surged, with advocates urging for a streamlined, efficient government leading towards an absolute monarchy. And I say abolish it. That cost me 5 authority. Good God. So the House of Delegates has been updated. It doesn't exist. It's been removed. And I am the sole ruling power that there is. So we're basically just like Rumburg now. Well, actually, I think we're more authoritarian than Rumburg. So yeah, Spontaneous protests as HOD closes. A small gathering of several hundred people demonstrated outside the House of Delegates after its immediate closure was announced. As RPP delegates left the building for the last time, some saluted the crowd and allegedly said, "We will return." Treason, arrest them. Wasteful House of Delegates no more. King Ramis has abolished the House of Delegates, at last getting rid of the wasteful institution that only drained taxpayer money by providing generous wages, including to opponents of the monarchy. With the obstructing institution out of the way, finally the king can focus on his real task, like bringing greatness to our golden country. Thousands of new businesses founded. Thanks to sound economic management overseen by King Ramis, the Rizian economy has never been healthier. Thousands of new businesses have been founded during his reign, increasing our economic output significantly and leading to record employment levels. The average Rizian has never seen more economic opportunities. South Marcopan Alliance announced. Rizia has announced its intention to found a new regional alliance, which is to include several partner countries in the region. The kingdom has now allocated resources to this initiative and said future announcements will detail the exact structure of the new organization. It's only going to be 3 countries in it, but, you know, still better than nothing. The Siege of Navarre Castle. Response to the attack on Navarre Castle. Let's see. The Navarre Castle, one among our most well-preserved palaces from the Resident era, has been the target of a savage bomb attack, igniting a firestorm that severely damaged the building. The attack on such a culturally significant site has caused outrage across the country, as it was an attack on the cultural heritage of this country. Oh, they will pay for this. Let's see. We're going to rebuild it, reinforcing it against future attacks. Use the incident to bolster national unity. Denounce Palais's cultural vandalism internationally. Or plan a memorial site at the ruins of Navarre Castle. I wish I could do kind of like a mix of this, because you know we could kind of use this to kind of affect the support of Palais. But yeah, let's rebuild rebuild the castle, reinforcing it against future attacks. Palais attacks National Heritage Site. King pledges to rebuild. The cultural savages across our southern border have bombed Navarre Castle, causing a firestorm that severely damaged the ancient resident palace. This is a clear war crime. Targeting significant historical sites is against the rules of war and an attack on our joint heritage. Luckily, King Ramis has pledged to rebuild the palace, this time with additional reinforcements to deter further attacks. Once Duke Reinhardt's destructive reign is over, we will no longer have to worry about such indiscriminate attacks. This didn't happen the last time I played off camera and I got into a war with Palais. Now, granted, it might have been because I'm actually leading the military this time and I just completely routed them the first time. So maybe that has some effect on it, but yeah, that didn't happen. So, Negotiations with President Smolik. We know how this is going to go. It's going to go terribly, so I won't go over this again with you. However, if something new pops up, then I will pop in to cover that. So, BRB. All right, I'm back from that meeting with Smolik. It went about as well as you thought it would go. And of course, he announced his intentions again to try to delay things, and yeah, so on and so forth. Anywho, Zeal's return, diplomatic standstill. We've also read this in the previous playthrough, so I won't go over that again. Now, over here, we have the invasion of Palais, Operation Total Tranquility, Phase 1. Okay, so what are we working with here? They have a lot of troops. A lot of troops. My God, do they have a lot of troops? I'm seeing a lot of mountaineer troops. Not too many tanks. They only have, what was that? 1, 2, 3 tank divisions. Now, the hardest part about all of this is going to be getting into these entrenched areas. I hope that I can do more than a few bombing runs, because I'm going to need quite a few of them. So, anywho, let's go ahead and get those tanks rolling. And my hope is to just kind of basically steamroll them like I did off camera. I did learn quite a bit when I played off camera that time and I skipped ahead. There's a lot that you can turn around and do, but also you do need to support your troops and stuff like that. That will cause a lot of problems. I think also with the going through the mountains, not the best idea for tanks and such. But again, not too worried about it because I have so much as far as the military goes. So I think we're just gonna keep with tanks as far as the eye can see. And I will just go with overwhelming force. Tanks everywhere, tanks everywhere. And if I need some troops, then I'll just go ahead and use paratroops to kind of deploy inside. But yeah, I want half of this to be nothing but tanks. Man, could you imagine if this was like some mechs or something like that, just had a bunch of guns coming towards their ass or something? Okay. I'll put some support troops around here. This line. And then I will do just infantry here. Again, the likelihood of me using them is absolutely nothing, pretty much. So yeah, shouldn't have to worry about them. All right, next for military stuff. Now, can I go all the way around? It does look like I can go all the way around. So hopefully I can go all the way around and attack and get this blockade out of the way. So for that, we're just going to do ship, 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 and then we'll do some submarines right around here. I think that's a lovely map. And of course, we're going to start off by bombing as many things as we possibly can. So let us get to it. All right, so how much can we actually bomb? Oh, we can't bomb much at all, actually. Oh, that's paratroopers. Okay. Oh, we can bomb virtually everything. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is knock these guys out. I'm going to knock out pretty much as I can right off the bat. So let's do that. We're just going to kind of go through the front lines. Because I think the other thing this does too is that it forces the AI to basically choose between using a turn to heal these units or, you know, trying to set up an attack or something like that. So that also helps me out quite a bit. I want to keep, because that's going to be a bitch to take out. Let's see. And I also want to make sure that they don't have support for some of these. So let's go ahead and strike these. I don't think they can really move now. Okay, so what can I use? I can't land any of my troops around here. Oh, okay, I can take them out. Get them out the way. Get them out the way. Can I land paratroopers on any more troops? I cannot. So we'll go ahead and get them there. Go ahead and get them up out of there. Can I land anything on you? I cannot. So let's do... Oh, is that a troop right there? Is that one of ours? That's one of ours. Okay. Go ahead and attack them. Go ahead and attack them. They're going to try to help out. So we'll stop that. Okay, so we should be able to take this entire front line right off the bat. Let's see what the AI does. Okay, they're trying to retreat. Okay, so we push them back. Okay, so not a whole lot that they could turn around and do. But again, I want to keep pressing this advantage. So let us continue with the bombings. Yeah, so much for that lesbian air superiority, eh? Get as many of these guys, because that's the main thing, is that I don't want them having support. Because if they have support, it makes my life just so terrible. So, now what can we land on troops? Yes, we can. Let's go ahead and just take these out. So we have a massive little invasion from the air. Okay. Is there anyone else we can take over? Doesn't look like it. So let's continue bombing. Oh, okay. So I can't. Oh, these are all our troops. Okay. I was about to say about to bomb my own folks. Okay, let's go ahead and keep the pressure up on these guys. What else? Support right there. And maybe I should go ahead and use this as an opportunity to land right there. Let's get you up out of there. And I guess we'll go ahead. Hold on. Yeah, let's go ahead and attack them. They're defended. Yeah, they're going to be entrenched, so that's going to be kind of rough. But let's go ahead and proceed. Push them back. Nice. Oh, they bombed us. You bastards. And that was all they could do. They spent the rest of their turn healing everybody. Okay. So let's do, again, as much bombing as we possibly can. Yes, bomb that city. Bomb this. Get that out the way. Get that out the way. That out the way. Take them out. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and move there. Oh, good. We can take them out too. Nice. I'm gonna mobilize them so they can't do anything. Man, this gotta suck for them. Like on the ground, this is just gotta suck. Just waiting to get bombed. That's pretty much all you can do. Okay. So let's continue bombing these fleets. Then let's start getting. Oh crap, what just happened? Oh, okay, it went around there. I got real confused there for a second. Okay. Who are you? Is that ours? Yes, it was. Okay, now we need to be careful, because we are kind of in enemy territory. Right. Then we'll go all the way over there. Can we not do that? Crap. Well, that's fine. All right, let's see what they do. All right, took them out. Took that out. Yeah, let's knock that little fleet out. Okay, so the next thing, again, we're just gonna keep bombing them. We've pretty much taken out everything, so they don't have a whole lot that they can do. So we'll just keep the pressure up on them. Just keep them immobilized so they can't do anything. They can't even defend their own troops who are nearby. And then we'll just keep dropping paratroopers on their head and prevent them from doing anything untoward. Okay. Get you guys out of the way. 2. Let me see. Right. Get you around there. Get you there. That'll knock out all of that. And then as far as dropping troops on people's heads, let's do that. What else? Get you out of the way. Go ahead and get these knocked out. And I'm basically just preparing to turn around and attack these cities all at once. Okay. And on the next turn, after we do the bombing run, we're just gonna straight up attack these cities and just take them all at once. And then we'll start knocking these fleets out. Such beauty. Then we'll deploy more fleets in order to turn around and deal with everything around here. Okay. So let's go ahead and bomb this. Do our usual bombing runs. Man, having all these airstrikes and stuff just makes things so much easier. I honestly don't even know what I would do if I was just playing this regularly. All right, that is a big ass ship. Okay, so having done all of that, let's just keep bombing them. Okay, disable for 1 turn. All right, so they are just getting cooked. And then the same thing will happen up here. Let's just go ahead, overrun them. Oh, actually, we can just land troops on top of them. So, crap, we can't do it now. Okay, so let's... Malaysian command base seized. Our forces uncovered and seized a hostile naval command base. The facility, hidden along the coast, was previously thought impossible to locate. The capture of high-ranking officers and crucial intelligence data has significantly disrupted Palay's naval efforts. The coast is clear. Nice. Okay, now that we've taken that, let us again focus on trying to capture this lovely city here. What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay. We'll support that. Bomb them again just to be on the safe side. And that will have us capturing these 2 areas here. Can we go ahead and attack them? We can. Okay, so we'll go ahead and knock that out. End the turn. After Rames's capture, an enemy officer proposes a lucrative bargain. His knowledge of Palais defense for us guaranteeing his family's safety. You know what? Sure. Accept the deal. I'm guessing that was the information about that base up there, perhaps. All right, false intel. Acting on the information about our intelligence agent being held captive in the City of Souls, our forces attacked and successfully captured the city, anticipating a swift rescue. However, upon securing the city and interrogating the local officials, it became glaringly evident that the intel was a ruse. The agent is nowhere to be found within the city's confines. Okay. Let's see. Interrogate Pelagian captives. I mean, y'all fleet and everything else is just cooked. Okay. All right, so we've captured these two cities, and the rest is just this. We'll bomb Palais into the Stone Age. Be a nice little parking garage when we get done with it. The King Ramis parking garage. Okay, we'll take you over here. You can take that. As for this big ass ship, oh boy, that's still gonna hurt. Come on. Okay, so that knocks you out. Let's get you over here to this attack as well. Well, can you move there then? Oh, I guess you can't. Well, then let's do this. Let's move you there, and then you attack them. Okay. Is there nothing that can be done with them? They're kind of... Okay, so yeah, the bombing helps. Come on. There you go. God, it took all of that. Okay, so now that we turned around and have secured all of this, it's just a matter of capturing Palais. So you guys go ahead and do what all you have to do. Oh crap, this enemy's right there. Run them there. Attack. That's all I can do for right now. All right, took out that fleet there. Took out that bloody big ass ship. Okay. Alrighty, paratroopers, take them out. Palais is now surrounded. Let's take out... Oh, okay, that's ours. Okay. I was a little confused there. Okay. You guys move there. In a daring night operation, Rizian forces rescued one of their own agents, whose intelligence on the city of Palais promises to be the key to its capture. The successful mission was fueled by information extracted from a Pelagian official under intense interrogation. Just the way I like it. All right, so let's go ahead. Are there any more enemy troops? There is. I didn't even see you hiding there. Okay. So now that we have that, let's land some troops there. Can we land troops in the city? No, but we can land some troops there. All right. Support them. They're getting cooked over there. And I think that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and deploy some more ships around here. Just so we can make sure that we cover our asses. Then I'll deploy them. We'll move them around here so we can kind of secure everything. Our fleet all up in the water. Get you guys up here. What else? I guess I can just deploy more ships in this area. Okay. Deploy you guys there. What else? Get them out the way. More bombing. Let's just go ahead and wrap this up. No. Let's go ahead and all of you attacking. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this out the way. Okay, and I think Palais is under our control. Yep, it's under player cities. So now it's just a matter of making sure that we have all our, well, there's nothing. Because, yeah, we've destroyed the entire force. Let's cancel that. Paratrooper there, paratrooper there. You know, just making sure that we, you know, have troops everywhere. I would hate to get ace combat and, you know, turn around and they have a surprise boss that shows up at the last second and then, oh no, they have forces that come out of nowhere. Would hate for that to happen. So let's just make sure that we have our bases covered. This is ridiculous. Good God, this is ridiculous. All right, let's end this turn. And this is under our control, correct? Player city. Yep, supplied and everything. All right. All territories are under our control. Okay. We'll just go ahead and get through these phases and declare our victory. Oh, Axel, you've made a horrible mistake. Operation Total Tranquility is successful. Following the strategic momentum of Operation Golden Shield, our armed forces have successfully executed Operation Total Tranquility, culminating in the capture of Palais' capital city. This significant achievement underscores the effectiveness of our military strategy and command structure, marking a pivotal moment in the campaign. Efforts are now underway to ensure a smooth transition, with a focus on stability and reconstruction. Okay, so Palais is conquered. I guess we're not going to actually see that reflective just yet. Republic of Kairoot, we have the Alliance of Nations ceremony situation going on. Mark Forrest from the front lines. Our forces staged daring rescue. Some of our most elite troops have successfully rescued an important intelligence asset from the clutches of his Palasian captors. During the daring rescue, which is the stuff war movies will be made of long after our victory, the asset's captors were swiftly dealt with. Unfortunately, our asset was severely bruised, a clear sign of maltreatment at the hands of Palasian brutes. I wish him a speedy recovery. Axa Victoria. Mark Forrest from the front lines. Ramis is ours. The second largest Palatian city, Ramis, has been liberated by our glorious king's army. True bravery was displayed by many individual soldiers and commanders, with medals awarded to those that went above and beyond for their fatherland. Axa Victoria. Mark Forrest from the front lines. Enemy naval capabilities crushed. Our brave troops have seized a vital Palatian naval command base. While our enemies clearly assumed the base to be hidden, His Majesty's forces located and successfully took over the base without much difficulty. Since the base served as the main command center for the Palatian Navy, their communications have now been severed drastically, reducing the effectiveness of their navy to coordinate meaningful resistance against us. Axa Victoria. Again, beautiful stuff. You gotta love it. Rizian troops seize second largest Palatian city. Ramis, a city with a pre-war population of nearly 1 million, has fallen into Rizian hands. Much of the city's population already fled as Rizian troops approached to avoid the expected siege. With the fall of Ramis, Palatian forces have essentially been forced to retreat to Palais proper, as the war has decisively turned into Rizian favor. Oh, it has. Oh, it has. Do I have any royal decrees that I can turn around and do? No, I don't. Okay, nothing to build, nothing. Allow free press. Yeah, there's nothing here. Okay. Republic of Kairut. Oh, well, I guess I could just pass some of these royal decrees for shits and giggles now. I mean, the only thing they would do is just piss off certain groups and stuff like that. But maybe I should do the welfare privatization now. The kingdom transitions a minority of the welfare, health, and education service. You know what? No. I'm not gonna do it. All right, Alliance of Nations. The royal convoy finally arrived at the entrance to the Alliance of Nations headquarters in Constantinium. I looked around and none of the other leaders had the prestige nor the grandiose of our convoy. I felt good about the day. I smiled before jumping into the den of the wolves. After the usual greetings, we moved into the welcome hall with Lorenzo to take our seats. He leaned over to my ear. Here we go, Your Majesty. I'm confident in this session. No, I'm not. Let's see, sir. A man that I recognize as President Nines approached the podium. The introductions to the session followed. With the hit of the gavel, President Nines announced the opening of the session. Prime Minister of Lesbia, Patricio Alvarez, was announced. Thank you, President Nines. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders of the world, I stand here to accuse the Kingdom of Rizia for what they have done in southern Marcopa. A roar of whispers and confusion rose in the chamber. Lorenzo and I looked at each other. As I expected. Yes, Your Majesty. Yes, Rizia is guilty. President Nines hit the gavel. Guilty of waging a destructive war engulfed in military failures. Guilty of causing refugee waves across the continent. I'm going to interrupt him. I got up from my seat and interrupted him. Rizia has a right to defend itself. The crowd in the chamber roared louder this time, some telling me to sit down and some telling me to go on. President Nines, I demand the continuation of my speech. President Nines hit the gavel many times until there was silence. He gestured at Alvarez to continue. Thank you. Now, where was I left off? We do not want war in Marcopa. We want peace. And ladies and gentlemen, peace has been sabotaged by the archaic methods of this kingdom. They block the access of the independent journalists to hide the truth. Palais is being destroyed before our eyes. They have destroyed women and child alike. They burned villages, schools, hospitals, for God's sakes. Are we expected to stand back and watch this humanitarian crisis happen right before our eyes? Are we expected to be complicit in these crimes against humanity? I say no. He hit the podium with a stack of papers. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders of the world, Lesbia is hereby officially calling for heavy sanctions on this warring nation on our borders. Thank you. With an even louder commotion, Patricio Alvarez left the stage. This does not look good, Your Majesty. Even if we get sanctioned, we will adapt and survive. I hope you're right, sir. Look, sir. President Nines announced the vote for the sanctions to begin. Cast your vote. I said nay and sat back down. Ayes and nays followed from different directions. With every aye, I winced. Nay. Aye. Nay. 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 Aye. Even your own country turned around. The country that you have bent the knee to and everything else in between have turned around and said, nah, we're not doing this. Only a few other member states were left. They all cast their votes. President Nines hit the gavel to stop the commotion and announce the results. The nays won out. Rizia would not be sanctioned by our fellow Alliance of Nation member states. Lorenzo turned to me with a smile. This is a very good result, Your Majesty. Now, I will point out, this did not happen in my last playthrough when I let the war play out with General Tadius doing everything. I actually don't remember. I don't even think there were any accusations of war crimes or anything like that. Now, having said that, I did have a free press, and I think I did allow limited. No, actually, I did block the media because I didn't want, of course, my operations to get out or anything like that. So yeah, I'm surprised that it actually turned out for the better in the end. Let's see. This shows that our path is righteous. Agreed, sir. President Nine signaled a short 10-minute break. After the break, we returned to the chamber. Martin Van Horten, Prime Minister of Agnolia, was summoned to the stage. Thank you, President Nines. Good morning. It's an honor to see you all in this chamber. Alliance of Nations and its importance on the world is paramount to peace. It is the sole organization that can bring all of us together to discuss, and not just discuss, but to solve the issues we face together. Our collective justice is strong, and our wills combined, we can do anything. Thus, I bring to this session the issue that my country, Agnolia, faces to ask you for your fairness and justice. Okay, we went over this before. This is just him talking about, you know, the issue with the Helgi Island. Though, now that I think about it, this might be interesting because with Swordland here, I'm in an alliance. Well, Swordland is in an alliance with Agnolia. So I'm not sure how this is actually going to play out. Oh boy, here we go. Let's keep watching. Our people on this island are currently living under the long shadow cast by Voxland. Their territorial ambitions knows no bounds and no end over this island that they claim unlawfully as theirs. Helgi Island is a vital piece of our heritage that they are trying to take away from us by force. I pose you this question. What would you have done if it was your own? Our eyes randomly met before he turned his gaze. The place where your great-grandfather was born in, where your father was born in. Would you not defend it? Would you not protect it with your life? He has a point. Having a point is not enough. There's more at play here. As unfortunate as it is, one needs might as well to make it right. For peace in Eastern Marcopa, Helgiland has to be recognized as Agnolian. Don't forget, it will be us first, then others will follow. I ask you to do the right thing. Thank you. I could see that Emmerich Hagel had a smirk on his face. He seemed confident. President Nines declared the voting to begin on the matter. Nay. Aye. Abstain. Aye. Aye. I'm kind of surprised that they have the default Anton Rain instead of what choice you did as far as the customization and such. But I guess it makes sense because otherwise you would have to have like some type of running, you know, thing in the background to determine that, and that would just be kind of unnecessary. So, meh. Nay. 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 It was finally my turn to cast a vote. Nay. The voting concluded, and the President Nines took his seat. The result was nay by a landslide. Defeated, Martin Van Horten shook his head in disbelief. His shoulders dropped. Who knew what he felt like in that moment? Lorento stood up to leave to catch a minister he wanted to talk to. I enjoyed the Kyrutian circular pastry with sesame seeds, apparently named Rekgev, that was handed out as a snack while I waited for the session to continue. Victor Smolik, president of Wayland, got up from his seat to speak. He held his arms up in the air and shouted, "Alliance of Nations, hear me." He can't help making a dramatic entrance, can he? I come to you today with the dire news from our southeastern border. Rizia's continued demand for the transfer of Zeal back to its territory. Under Wayland, the Zealians have enjoyed democratic freedoms that they have never experienced before. To lose those freedoms by joining a monarchy, nobody wants that. Would you? I wouldn't. I've heard representatives from Zeal, personally I might add. They were clear in their request. They asked good old Victor to help them out, and I promised that I would. Zeal wants to remain part of Wayland. The will of the people is paramount in a democracy, King Ramus, although you might not know that. A democratic referendum will take place in Zeal so that the people themselves can decide with whom they will align. Again, I will interrupt him. Zeal rightfully belongs to Rizia as per the agreement between our nations. You will dare disregard the will of the people? I can't say I'm surprised. The chamber went silent. The monarch can't even keep himself composed in a democratic arena. President Nines hit the gavel a couple of times. All right, I'm calm. I myself personally presented him with the idea of the referendum when it became clear that he was not interested in building trust between Rizia and Wayland. He almost spat in my face. What do you expect from a monarch? Of course, Rizia has not sat idly by in the years since the Friendship Day attack. King Ramus Taurus is knowingly, intentionally sowing dissent among the populace of Zeal. With underhanded tactics, he has attempted to garner a pro-Rizia movement in the region. Its swelling numbers do not reflect Zeal's true sentiments. My government has found direct links to a massive underground armed resistance, enough men to destabilize the entire region. We found Rizian weapons in the hands of these terrorists. Where are these weapons coming from? Answer me. From Rizia itself, of course. There are big games being played with Wayland. Everyone is against us. Rizia refused to cooperate with my government on investigating the Friendship Day bombing. To this day, no culprit has been found. Why? Because the attack was masterminded by Rizia itself. The Zeal referendum will happen. As a leading force for justice in the world, it is the AN's obligation to rescue these innocents from the clutches of their would-be king and deliver them to freedom. That is all I will say. He left the podium. President Nines motioned forward. I was given several minutes to defend Rizia's position. I made my way to the podium. Leaders of the world. President Smolik demeans others with such ease, but let's talk about what he himself has done. For his actions against the Blutish people, he should be regarded as a criminal. Go to any Blutish village in Wayland, and you will know what I mean. Let me see, just turn on your television or open a newspaper, and you will see evidence of his misdeeds. He's a dishonest, undignified, disreputable buffoon. Do you want this man to dictate what happens to Zeal? I can't help but respond to President Smolik's claims about what the people of Zeal do and do not want. My mother was born in Zeal. I know the region better than Victor Smolik or anyone else in this room. Only a madman would believe that the Zealians long for a sham democracy rather than the embrace of their one true monarch. I'm not going to say that. It is not the Rizian monarchy that is a threat to the Zeal people. It is Wayland. I would like to talk about the agreement that my father and President Smolik's predecessor signed all those years ago. In it, the territory of Zeal was given to Wayland for 25 years, not a day longer. I ask you this, what kind of world would this be if everyone went about making and breaking agreements with no consequences? If there's one resource we Rizians have in abundance, it's honor. I will not let Victor Smolik hold my province hostage, no matter what. I have said enough about Wayland and the games President Smolik is playing. I want to talk about this referendum. This referendum is completely illegal, unjust, and out of line with previous agreements. Knowing the way that Wayland's so-called democracy is run, there's no way their government will respect the actual will of the people. Rizia will not be silent against the threat of Wessex territorial ambitions. I am warning President Smolik, if he makes a single move to prevent the return of Zeal, we will respond. I asked for the votes to send Alliance of Nation peacekeepers to Zeal to stop this illegal referendum. With or without the help of the Alliance of Nations, we will defend our territory. You can be sure of that. The audience applauded as I stepped down from the podium. I went back to my seat next to Lorento. A very good speech, Your Majesty. All I did was tell the truth. Kind of. Let's see what the member states decide. After much deliberation, President Nines opened the floor. Each leader now had to vote whether to allow the referendum or not. Nay. 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 Aye. The votes were counted. The Alliance of Nations would not allow the Zeal referendum to happen. Peacekeeping troops will be sent to ensure the smooth transition of Zeal to Rizia. What a triumph. Your father would be proud. All right. Let it be known that Ramus I succeeded where Valero the Frail failed. Yes, Your Majesty. An aide leaned over to my ear to let us know that it was lunchtime. We made our way out of the chamber. I'm wondering if that was because of some of the approval things I did on the back end. Because I do find that kind of interesting that Dwight Walker and, of course, Lesbia also voted nay in this situation. But maybe it's because they don't want to, have any more problems in the region and such. So maybe that's the reason why. All right, let's see what we got here. Lunchtime at the palace. Let's see, what do we have here? AN calls off Zeal referendum. The Alliance of Nations has voted to cancel the Zeal referendum, considering it an illegal attempt by Wayland to maintain control over the territory, despite previous legal agreements to return it to Rizia proper. The resolution states that the AN is prepared to deploy peacekeepers to Zeal, if required, calling on Smolik to ensure a quick and peaceful transition of the region back to the Rizian kingdom. The AN votes against recognizing Helgi Island as Agnolian. The AN has overwhelmingly voted against the Agnolian proposal to recognize Helgiland, the disputed island in the Markian Sea, as Agnolian. Currently, the island is recognized as a de jure part of Voxland, although Agnolia occupies it. Agnolia's Prime Minister, Martin Van Horten, responded disappointed to the vote, saying the failure to recognize the island jeopardizes peace in eastern Marcopa. Alrighty then, so we have had several victories here, several victories. Let's see, trade deal with Dirtia, we got that. Exceptional global image, is that so? The global image of the Golden Kingdom has reached an exceptional level, marked by widespread international acclaim and respect. This favorable perception is a result of successful diplomatic initiatives, humanitarian efforts, and a commitment to global peace and stability. Rizia's positive influence in international affairs has not only enhanced its reputation, but also solidified its position as a key player on the world stage, fostering beneficial alliances and partnerships. I was kind of thinking too, as I was going through this, it would kind of be interesting to have a situation or a DLC where we can play as President Nines and play as the head of the Alliance of Nations, and maybe see the wheeling and dealing of the Alliance of Nations. It would be, I feel like it would be very boring though, because I just can't see the Alliance of Nations being useful other than being a meeting place for all the nations. They just don't seem very useful at all. They seem fairly useless, pretty much like the United Nations in real life. So, it would be interesting to a certain degree, but at the same time, I just feel like it would just be kind of boring. But I'd be curious to see if you can pull some things off and maybe create a powerful Alliance of Nations. But at the same time, we're going back in the past with every DLC, so I guess that would never happen. Okay, we got Ramasaurus University, strong welfare state, great living standards, acceptable workers' rights. What about the housing situation? I know that's still a problem. Rise in new businesses, regional tourist destination, rigid energy economy. Hmm. See, decriminalize homosexuality. State religion is nudity, absolutist monarchy. Following the dissolution of the House of Delegates, the kingdom has embraced an absolutist monarchy structure. Supreme authority now resides with the monarch, supported by the council. This shift centralizes power, stripping legislative functions from representative bodies and consolidating authority directly under the monarch. All right, royal traditions broken. The revered royal traditions, while still influential, have begun to shift, adapting to contemporary demands and societal changes. This transition reflects a nation at the crossroads of preserving its heritage and embracing modern administrative practices, with the monarchy adapting its role accordingly. And we have strong women's rights. All right, we don't have any real policies with our military right now. Adequately trained officer corps. We have Pelasian war deployment, growing Pelasian resistance. The resistance against Rizian forces in Palais is gaining momentum, reflecting a growing sentiment of opposition among the local population. The movement, while not yet at its peak, is attracting increasing support from the Pelasians, complicating Rizia's military efforts. This developing resistance underscores a rising challenge and the need for strategic consideration in Rizia's approach to the conflict. Now, this might be my fault, because there is a stat that says something like war support or something like that, and it was at 0 at the time. I increased it, so I wonder if by increasing it, it does the opposite, and maybe I should have had it at negative, but I don't know. Monarch oversees war. The monarch's direct oversight of war efforts represent a centralized approach to military leadership. While this ensures unified command and decision making, it also presents challenges in managing the complexities of war and governance, highlighting the need for balance and strategic focus and resource allocation. This involvement of the monarch also symbolizes a personal commitment to the nation's security and success, fostering a sense of unity and resolve among the populace. We have short and medium range ballistic missiles, dirty and religious mercenaries. We just have so many things. They were just so screwed. All right. Now we have lunchtime at the palace. I was having lunch in one of my dining rooms when Pable told me that someone was requesting my urgent attention. Oh God. I took a final sip of my soup, wiped my mouth, and got up to greet the person who dared to disturb me. Lucida hurried into the room and bowed. I'm sorry to disrupt you, Your Majesty. You can disrupt me at any time, Lucida, day or night. Unfortunately, this disruption is a rather serious one. She looked around and gestured at Pable. Even the palace walls have ears, Your Majesty, if you wouldn't mind. Gestured for Pable to leave. Pable bowed respectfully and left the room. Oh, crap. I've concluded my investigation into Grand Wiseman Ignatius. It turns out your suspicions were correct. I now have concrete proof that he was behind the poisoning of your late father. Please go on. I had many of his priests interrogated. Unfortunately, it proved impossible to get through to them. Despite trying numerous methods, they remained tight-lipped, even with a duchess. But then, just as I was starting to lose hope, a boy working under one of the priests opened up and gave us the break we desperately needed. He led us to this, Your Majesty. It belongs to the Grand Wiseman. She pulled out an evidence bag that contained what looked like a small bottle. And it just so happens that our toxicologist identified this liquid to be a lethal poison called M-Man. She struggled to read the name from the label and squinted her eyes. Mandragora officinarium. Something like that. It's apparently made from a plant. Be very careful with how you handle it, Your Majesty. We wouldn't want you to share the same fate as your father. She handed me the small brown bottle. You don't have an evidence bag to put this in or something? It still had a little bit of liquid left in it. I wondered to myself whether this was somehow related to the holy wine Saul drank at my consecration ceremony. Where did you find the bottle? The boy took us to a secret chamber within the capital's Ark Sanctuary, which Saul apparently used as a study. It was a dark, damp place, An old, very old, and old, very old. The bottle was found in a drawer. How can you be sure it belongs to him? We found some of Saul's personal belongings where we found the bottle. No fingerprints? Do we have the ability to do fingerprint stuff? That's all I wanted to know. That's not all. There's something else. She presented a sheet of paper. It looked quite old. Take it and read it. There were dates and short descriptions underneath. Read the first entry. 16th of October, late afternoon. Valero agreed to go through the trials that I propose. I fear what may come, yet I remain steadfast in the knowledge that the prophesied king will eventually return. While he exhibits signs of joy and laughter, it appears that the dosage is insufficient. I will augment it. Oh, damn. Read the second entry. 24th of October, sunset. I cannot believe that the king has entrusted me with this sacred task. Sometimes I think that I take his faith in me for granted. We will see if he is the one. I pray that it is true. I must up the dosage further. We're getting closer. Read the third entry. 1st of November, close to midnight. The king is having convulsions. The dosage might be too high, but we're so close. So close. Everything depends on this now. I will administer the final dose on the 18th. Oh God, I pray to you for a successful outcome. Read the fourth entry. 18th of November, 2 minutes to midnight. Something dark is lurking. I can see the shadows engulf us. We have been cursed. I gave the final dose to the king. He whispered my name before I left his chambers. It still echoes in my head. Saul, Saul, look after Ramus. Valero was weak. He is not the chosen one. We have failed. Perhaps his son. Time will tell. My God, Saul was over here trying to create the Quetzalcoatl and he fucked up. Well, damn. I handed over the note. Your orders? Arrest the Grand Wiseman immediately and throw him in prison to rot. As you wish, Your Majesty. It is as good as done. She bowed and left the room. I sat back down at the table. I looked at the bottle right next to the bowl of soup. I couldn't possibly finish eating after the taste this conversation had left in my mouth. So damn, Saul assassinated my father, perhaps. Now again, I did this investigation with Titus in the last playthrough, and I investigated Lucida, and it turns out that she was the one that turned around and did it. I've read certain things online, and apparently it doesn't really matter who you pick. Each one of them had some part in your father's death. So I don't know the actual full story behind it, but it seems to be quite complicated. So, all right, nighttime at the palace. It was the night before Vina's investiture ceremony as Duchess of Monquise. After a day spent finalizing arrangements, holding press conferences, and reviewing security details, I was exhausted. First, though, I decided to take a walk in the palace gardens to clear my head. I had just stepped onto the grounds when I bumped into Lucida. Oh, hello, Your Majesty. I was just reviewing our latest battle plans. Look at us, addicted to our jobs. There's no clocking out when the kingdom's future is at stake. Come on, let's take a walk. We strolled further into the gardens. It was a balmy night, and the moon was just beginning to rise. Under cover of darkness, Lucida slipped her hand into mine. Vina Torres, Duchess of Valenquieres, the day has finally come. I still remember attending the celebrations when she was born. Her mother looked so gorgeous. Believe me, Princess Lena of Rumburg couldn't hold a candle to Duchess Lucida of Montclair. Lucida snorted. The blossoming flower versus the bird of prey. I know what they all say about me. We had come to the clearing in the middle of the gardens. To our left was the stone bench. The moon had risen by now, illuminating Lucida's features. I thought about everything we'd been through together. I thought about her position as counselor. Her interim status had lasted longer than expected, but it was nearly time for her father to return. I thought about how, as of tomorrow, the heir to the throne of Rizia would not be a member of House Taurus. Kneel. I knelt on the ground. Lucida's eyes widened. She looked at me questioningly. In the presence of the heavens above and the earth below, I do extend unto thee an offer of marriage. She clapped a hand to her mouth. It was a second before she replied. Is it unromantic of me to ask why? I'm going to say I loved her. I kind of want to say this because I'm kind of interested in that idea that Thaddeus had with, kind of merging the military with the monarchy. But I'll just say I loved you since the moment you entered my council chambers. I've loved you since before we even met. She reached down and grabbed the back of my head and pulled my face level with hers. Yes, King Ramus, I will marry you. We kissed with such force that we nearly toppled to the ground. I wondered if any guards had eyes on us. When we broke apart, she was grinning. Wait, I have an idea. Is Saul finna marry us, even though this dude is guilty of treason? Please tell me we have another priest or something around. She took my hand and pulled me towards the palace. She led me through, oh my God, to the entrance to Saul Ignatius's quarters. We can't get in. It's been locked since his arrest. She put a finger to her lips, then took a keychain from her pocket and silently unlocked the door. Why do you have keys to everywhere around the palace, ma'am? The room was as he'd left it, minimally furnished, with shelves full of books and sacred objects lining the walls. Rizian law dictates that in the absence of a grand wiseman, the monarch is granted the ability to officiate marriages, including his own. A wedding without boring religious speeches? Count me in. Yeah, sure. I knew you'd like the idea. Lucida walked into the room and began browsing the shelves. Was this how you always dreamed your wedding would be? Right down to the grass stain on my dress. I watched as she lit a pair of candles and arranged a set of objects in a row on Saul's desk. First in a row was a scroll. She handed it to me. Almighty and ever-loving God, who in thy infinite wisdom hast blessed the union of two hearts in sacred wedlock, look kindly upon myself and Duchess Lucida Azaro, who stand before thee seeking thy blessing. In this sacred covenant, love and duty converge to forge a legacy that transcends the temporal realm. Let it be known that in the heart of such a union, the virtues of loyalty, honor, and unwavering commitment are the true jewels that adorn the crown of matrimonial sanctity. Perfect. And now for the oath. Lucida gestured to the royal orb she had placed on the desk. We both lay our hands on it. Let's see. If we're going to break tradition, I want to go all the way. I'll recite my own vows. As you wish. It's just us and the Lord anyway. Lucida looked at me. Her eyes shone brightly. Lucy, the past few years I've spent with you have been the happiest in my entire life. Let's see. Together, we are more than the sum of our parts. We are bound by shared ambition and mutual respect, whether in the chaos of the council meetings or in the intimacy of moments alone. I feel I have truly found my equal. I pledge myself to you not as a king to his queen, but as a woman, as a man eager to spend the rest of his life with the woman he loves. Lucida was struggling to fight back tears. Eventually, she brought herself to speak. As the queen on a chessboard guards her king, so do I vow to protect you in this kingdom, Ramos Taurus. We took our hands off the orb. Next to it on the desk was a small pot containing a strong smelling substance. Lucida took a quick look at the scroll. This oil is infused with the protection of our Lord and the strength and blessings of our ancestors. As you anoint one another, be reminded of your promise to serve each other, the Lord, and this realm. I dipped the finger into the oil and lightly touched Lucida's forehead. She did the same to me. Lena took two ancient-looking rings off the desk. You mean Lucida took? Lena's dead. These are House of Zara rings. The Grand Wiseman must have salvaged them from the Plavoark Sanctuary. They're beautiful. I'll wear mine with pride. As we exchanged rings, I looked deep into Lucida's eyes. They were like bottomless pools, concealing the future of the kingdom somewhere within their depths. As the sovereign of this realm, I name you as my queen, now and forevermore. You may kiss the bride. Our lips met. I sensed every molecule in her body vibrating with happiness. Once again, I was a married man, this time by choice. All right, so I have basically made the Church of Rizia now because I conducted the, ceremonies myself and everything. So, yeah. All right. See what we got going on in Monkeys. Thor's household welcomes Duchess Vina. The household at the Monkey's Palace warmly welcomed Princess Vina in their midst, ensuring she gets all her heart's desires and has all the help she needs in running the province. Former Duke Habutus Taurus has decided to stay in Monkeys for the time being, commencing a new project of attempting to grow exotic chili peppers in the palace gardens. All right. Vina crowned Duchess of Valenquires. During an intimate ceremony held in Valenquire, Princess Vina has been crowned Duchess of Valenquires, taking over from Hubertus Taurus. Now, the princess will take up residence in Monkey's Palace, from where she will administer the province, gaining vital administrative experience for the day she will take over the throne. All right, on to the next one. All right, so let's see what we have. Former oil workers declare autonomous town. We saw that previously. Order breaks down as street battles erupt. We saw that previously as well. Authorities prepare for another mass demonstration. Authorities in the capital are scrambling to organize a response to yet another mass demonstration against the monarchy that is to take place there in the coming days. With the protesters expected to arrive from all over the country, this could be the biggest one yet. Oh, crap. Okay, this might be problematic. Invasion of Palais. Palais infrastructure collapsed. The ongoing war has left Palais' critical infrastructure in ruins due to bombings and military engagements. Vital facilities, including water treatment plants, power stations, and transportation networks, have been severely damaged, causing widespread service outages, with many fearing a humanitarian crisis. Let's see. Strengthen the blockade against Palais. No. Open corridors for international humanitarian aid. Or send Rizian humanitarian aid under military escort. Huh. Yeah, let's send Rizian humanitarian aid under military escort. Maybe that would be the best. Then again, if they're not happy right now, maybe that's not the best decision. Let's open corridors for international humanitarian aid. Sure, let's do that. All right, Rizia allows international aid into Palace. The Kingdom of Rizia has announced that its army will be opening humanitarian corridors to allow international aid organizations into war-torn Palais. Many organizations, including the WHR, have raised concerns over an escalating humanitarian crisis in the country, saying urgent aid needs to be delivered to alleviate the suffering of the civilian population. Palaisian civilian infrastructure is in a state of complete collapse as a result from large-scale bombing campaigns and heavy fighting. I did do quite a bit of bombing, though I didn't bomb Palais nearly as much, but there was still quite a bit of bombing. Palais calls aid insult to injury. The Palaisian government has called plans to deliver humanitarian aid to its civilians an insult, saying that instead of lobbying for aid, the international community should support an immediate ceasefire and an end of airstrikes on civilian infrastructures. Nah, we're gonna keep doing that. All right, diplomatic mediations with Dirtia. Lorenzo and I sat in Palais Resna's diplomatic suite, awaiting our foreign guests. A knock came on the door. Prime Minister Sultana and Supreme Wiseman Asmal had arrived. A lot had happened since I promised the Dirtian and Morellian leaders that I would mediate between them, but I was still determined to find a solution. They and a handful of their ministers joined myself and Lorenzo around the conference table. Thank you both for joining me. I'm confident we can accomplish great things today. Asmal and Sultana looked at each other uneasily. Lorenzo cleared his throat. We all know why we're here. Your countries have been engaged in border disputes for years. Rizia has promised to help you find a common solution. The Morellan Prime Minister nodded. It is time we put an end to these insurgencies. Our international image has suffered enough. Insurgencies is exactly that kind of language that has made me reluctant to deal with you, Madam Prime Minister. Are you sure it's my language you have a problem with, Mr. Asmal, not the fact that I'm a woman who holds more power than you? There's obviously only one way to solve this, a duel of generosity. Let's see. There's not really a good middle one here. Stop squabbling at once, both of you. Your conduct is befitting of kindergartners, not world leaders. Both Sultana and Asmal looked down at the table. Forgive me, Your Majesty. However, this is a problem with an easy solution. Allow Dirtian Gokanis the freedom to practice their religion. You may not believe in God yourself, Miss Sultana, and yet you cannot deny those who do believe in a higher power the right to worship as their ancestors have. Let's see. Rizia re-allowed Dirtian Gokanis into our places of worship with no ill consequences. Rizia shares no borders with Dirtia. The only reason you have not been overwhelmed by an influx of so-called pilgrims is because we have been holding them back. Lorenzo tinted his fingers on the table. Supreme Wiseman, Madam Prime Minister, this is the solution my department has devised for you. He opened a folder and pulled out a map of Dirtia, Rizia, and Morella with a diagram drawn on it. We call this St. Ruick's Corridor. His finger traced a thick black line from the Dirtian Morellan border towards the Antician Sea. Each year, a select number of Dirtians with an appropriate prayer visa will be allowed into Morella via this specific channel. It includes the most important sanctuaries on the Gokanis pilgrimage route. The route continues into Rizia, where Dirtian pilgrims have been permitted for some time. Sultana eyed me suspiciously. How do we know the Dirtians will stick to the route as they pass through Morella? How do we know the Morellans will not attempt to block it? Let's see. Of course, I will send a company from the Rizian armed forces to grant the pilgrims secure passage. I can accept that. So can I. Lorenzo smiled proudly. Thank you both for your swift willingness to compromise. Such solutions always seem easy when it's a third party proposing them, don't they? We'll assemble a team from all three of our countries to begin the creation of the corridor. Let's see. If Morella and Dirtia can come to a diplomatic agreement this quickly, I have high hopes for the Intermarcopan alliance. Agreed, Your Majesty. Rento checked his pocket watch. We're finished here. I'm happy Rizia was able to help you. The Morellan Prime Minister rose from her seat. I will see you in the trade zone next month. I'd like to go over a detail or two about that first. I'll escort you to the door. She and her entourage followed him out of the suite. May the Lord be with you. He stood up and shook my hand, and he left the suite. All right, we got some peace between those two. All right, Ruick's corridor formed in Morella. As part of mediation efforts between the nations of the former Empire of Moridia, King Ramus Taurus has assisted with the formation of a secure corridor through which Dirtian religious pilgrims may pass through Morella in order to visit Gokanless prayer sites in that republic as well as Rizia. Morella and Dirtia have found themselves at constant odds in the past, with border clashes often threatening to turn into full-scale conflict. With this solution offered by Rizia, it seems there is finally a chance for peace between all three nations. Okay. Homelessness in freefall. As the program providing housing to homeless individuals starts picking up speed, the number of unhoused inside Port Dresden has effectively halved. A shortage of housing still exists, making finding suitable housing space difficult, but new constructions are underway to alleviate the problems. Nice. All right, Republic of Sorlin. Outcome of the Sordlin bond investment. Oh God, approximately 4 years have passed since our strategic investments in Sorlin's economic recovery bonds. The global economy has witnessed numerous fluctuations and changes during this period, affecting Sorlin's economic rebound. Now it's time to assess the financial outcome of the bond. Strong returns, let it rain. All right, shout out to President Rain. I appreciate that. Shrewd investment in richest treasury. Our king's clever move to purchase Swordish bonds has paid off, with our kingdom banking on Swordish economic success. This once again proves King Ramus is a true economic mastermind. Okay, I'm probably going to end up redoing the playthrough with Swordland so I can work with Rizia. Again, I completely missed that. I can't believe I missed that. But again, I was trying to skim through this stuff. I did all that in one day, so I had to skip through a lot of dialogue. But and also I had to go back and forth changing a lot of things in order to, get everything working, because I remember I had to change the votes and the approval of Gloria and what's the other guy's name? Alvin Clavin, whatever his name is. I had to change the approval of everybody because I lost the support of everyone, privatizing things and stuff like that. So yeah, I was utterly screwed going into that, but I changed the votes, and I think I only lost by I changed the votes, and I think there were only 7 nays or something like that in the end or whatever. Gloria did end up becoming vice president, and I changed some other things too. But yeah, it was pretty bad. So I managed to pull that off by, of course, cheating, but still, it was rough. But yeah, I'm probably going to go back and play this again so I can get the support of Rizia in the process, so I can work with them and have more interactions with Sortland. However, I think in the next playthrough I'm going to do something that was brought up was, what if I did a run where Swordling gets nuked? So I tried to do that right towards the end, but I couldn't get it to trigger without setting some things to true. So I decided not to do it because I didn't want to screw up anything. But yeah, I'm probably going to go back and try to initiate a war with Rumburg and see how that plays out in the long run, and see what would happen if I turn around and got nuked in the process, and see how that affects the world. I think you can save the game in that situation, and it does carry over, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how the game overs work, but I do think they do carry over as a completed save. So if I can do that, I will see if I can, and See how that goes. I won't be playing that on the channel, of course. Perhaps I'll mention it once we get through the ending of, or in a later video or something like that. Republic of Morella, final board vote on the midst. Time to say fuck you to Lesbia one last time. Once again, our helicopter touched down in the Mephium International Trade Zone. Elena winced as she descended the steps to the sandy ground. The trip was quicker last time, though I was just younger. She pinned a strand of gray hair behind her ear as we began walking towards the MIT's headquarters. Ready for the final vote, Your Majesty? Yes, it's time for Morella to get its proper due. I admire your commitment to our neighbors' welfare, Your Majesty, but I hope you're considering Rizia's as well. Thanks to our new gold mine in Quelus, we are much less dependent on international gold production. And honestly, our other industries are booming to the extent that our gold income serves as little more than icing on the proverbial cake. In light of that, I'd advise you to go into this meeting with the intention of strengthening our international partnerships rather than maximizing our returns. Morella's support is key to my plans for a South Marcopan alliance. I have to keep Sultana happy at all costs. At all costs, Your Majesty? We kept walking until we reached the entrance of the headquarters. We were about to enter the building when the Chancellor Emmerich Hegel and the rest of the Volgish delegation walked past us. Hegel looked me in the eye and nodded in greeting, his expression unreadable. Chancellor, may I have a moment of your time? He stopped in his tracks. One moment. The aides quickly readied a side room for us. We stepped in and sat across from one another. You're still planning on voting the same way, right? He looked at me sternly. Don't worry, Mr. Torres. Everything will go exactly as planned. Let me see. What will it take for you to give me some extra reassurance? You don't need it. You can rely on my cooperation. But if it's a closer bond with Vogsland you want, I do have one offer for you. Your island, Calicabez. Allow Vogsland and the CSP to use it as a base of operations. You'll be compensated fairly, of course. Sure. Our kingdom could use the extra income. Why not? Let's make a deal. We honestly don't need it, but at this point, I just want to say a gigantic fuck you to Lesbia. So yeah, that will kind of screw them up and make them think a little bit more in the future about trying to get involved in our politics. So let's make that deal. He reached out and shook my hand firmly. A pleasure cooperating with you, Mr. Torres. I assume we're done here. Thank you for your flexibility, Chancellor. We left the room. God, I love Hegel. Again, Hegel is definitely my favorite character in this entire game. And again, that's followed behind Asmo. I hate to almost say this, but Kasaro Kibner screwed me over really good. His politics are detestable. Let me get that out the way first. You know, just let me get that way. He is a terrible person. But he screwed me over in the new amendment update, and I couldn't help but applaud him. I actually was baffled by that. I was like, you son of a bitch. So, you know, I give him some kudos there. I'm gonna give him an honorable mention. I'm not gonna put him on the list, but I thought that was very clever of him, and it showed that calculating mind, and he's not dumb. So yeah, fuck that guy. But again, very interesting character, and I liked him. So, but yeah, I mean, Asmo, Hegel, really love them. I definitely can't wait to see more of them in future games or whatnot. So, you know, or future DLCs. So yeah, but gotta love Hegel. Elena cornered me as I came out of the room. Well, Your Majesty, what was that about? Vogsland's cooperation has been secured. That's wonderful news. I'll refrain from asking how. We were ushered into the main conference hall. Elena split off for her seat as I was led to one of the 4 podiums on stage. Alvarez gave a gruff nod of acknowledgement as I took my place next to him. Sortlin, eh? Congratulations on the new alliance. His expression didn't change. Thank you, Your Majesty. There was a squeal of feedback as Alma Sultana tapped on her microphone. The reporters, executives, and various delegations in the conference hall snapped to attention. My brothers and sisters, we all know what this is about, so I will get straight to it. Several years ago, the Republic of Morella began an initiative to bring the resources of the Methium Basin under the stewardship of our state and our people. In accordance with a majority of stakeholders, we have negotiated a draft proposal for the nationalization of the trade zone. I thank my partners for their generosity and cooperation during this process. And I am happy to assure everyone gathered here that nobody will go home empty-handed. Well, almost nobody. An aide approached Sultana with a briefcase. She opened it and took out a single piece of paper. The Methium International Trade Zone Nationalization Agreement of 1957. All currently existing assets within the Methium Basin will be brought under Morellan state ownership. From henceforth, operations in the trade zone will be overseen by a new state corporation, Meridian Mining and Trade. High wages and stronger labor and environmental protections will be implemented immediately. The government of Morella will own a 60% stake in this new company. The remaining 40% will go to Rizia. Alvarez scowled. Each MITS partner must now give his or her final approval to this proposal. The Republic of Morella votes yes. Lesbia votes no to the unfair seizure of our assets. It was my turn. My kingdom is happy to approve this proposal. Both Sultana and Hegel gave satisfied nods. Thank you, King Ramus. Chancellor Hegel? The Vogslandian Chancellor cleared his throat dramatically. The Republic of Vogsland approves this proposal. There was a round of polite applause. Sultana smiled in obvious relief. By a 3-1 vote, the Methium International Trade Zone Nationalization Plan will be implemented. There is a momentous occasion. This is a momentous occasion. I thank you all for joining us here today and invite you to stay for celebrations. I caught Elena's eye. She was applauding proudly from her spot in the front row. Prime Minister Sultana waved at all of us to join her at her podium for a photograph. Join her. That didn't happen last time. Alvarez and Hegel stood on either side of us as, oh yes, he did. Stood on either side of us as she held up the new contract for the cameras. The lesbian prime minister spoke into my ear in a voice so low only I could hear it. The gloves are off now, Your Majesty. Good luck in Palais. Don't forget to smile for the cameras. He kept the rictus grin on his face as the shutters clicked all around us. Man, he is just in a sucky situation. Like, Palais has lost the war, just tremendously lost the war, so he's not going to get that gas. And on top of that, he's now losing all of his gold and getting nothing. He is screwed. And he's going to be, and that's going to put him in a very bad position because he's going to be even more dependent on Ado and probably even more dependent on Sortland. So that actually helps out Sortland a lot more because they'll be able to influence them a lot more with trade and stuff. So, all right. Morella to join regional alliance talks. Prime Minister Alma Sultana has accepted our invitation to join talks for a South Marcopan alliance. She will be present at the upcoming roundtable in Port Drazen. 30th to join regional alliance talks. Supreme Wiseman Jorga Asmal has accepted our invitation to join talks for a South Marcopan alliance. He will be present at the upcoming roundtable in Port Drazen. I wonder who all you can get, because I would think that it would make sense in some sense to possibly, well, no, because Wayland isn't a part of this. So yeah, maybe you could poach some of the free cities at some point. Maybe even the Republic of Canal in the future. Who knows? But no, that's because yeah, the Republic of Canal is all in Ado's face. So yeah, maybe you can like stage a revolution in Lesbia in the future, and then you can get Lesbia in this. All right. So that's the South Marcopan Alliance discussion. All right. MITS successfully nationalized. The years-long bid for the nationalization of the Methium International Trade Zone came to a successful conclusion today, with the board casting its vote in favor of the final proposal negotiated between the leaders of Morella, Rizia, Lesbia, and Vogsland. Surprisingly, Rizia will continue to maintain a stake in the Morella state-controlled mining operations, while Lesbia will not, hinting at a definitive break between the Ado-aligned Republic and its eastern Marcopan neighbors. All right. Roundtable discussion on proposal of South Marcopan Alliance. On proposed South Marcopan Alliance. I gathered in Port Drazen with Lorenzo and the other members of my proposed South Marcopan Alliance. For this occasion, I had chosen the Amethyst Room, a circular chamber on one of Palace Resna's top floors. At its center was a round mahogany table with the sparkling amethyst inlays embedded along its edges. Their violet hue matched the silk drapes lining the walls. Pedestals nestled around the circumference displayed alabaster busts of Queen Liza and my many other ancestors, dating all the way back to Count Resna. Ruler upon ruler, each with their own approach to diplomacy and conflict. None had attempted an alliance as ambitious as the one I was hoping to realize today. Lorenzo and I exchanged nods. It was time for the meeting to begin. Dear esteemed guests, I thank you for joining me today. My tablemates wore proud expressions. I will start with a roll call. Prime Minister Alma Sultana of Morella. The Morellan leader stood up and gave a firm nod. I look forward to working with you all on building a resilient and unified South Marcopa. Supreme Wiseman Jorga Asmal of Dirtia. Asmal rose and made the hand sign indicating the 6 pillars of Ruicism. I am ready to seal the holy bond that was written for our countries in the stars. Everyone sat down. As the main initiator of the tentatively titled Inter-Marcopan Alliance, Rizia is prepared to offer resources to get the project off the ground. I will let His Majesty explain more about our intentions. Okay. In today's ever-shifting economic climate, establishing financial stability should be the utmost priority. In a world dominated by ADO and the CSP, it is vital that our nations focus on bolstering each other's national security. I'm going to say oil and gas agreements form the backbone of this alliance. I propose we work further towards establishing. Now, let's go with the economic one. Therefore, okay. So this is me saying things before I actually do things or whatever. Therefore, I pledge that I will fund our alliance on an ongoing basis. I shall contribute a generous sum towards the founding of a joint financial reserve. Therefore, I will pledge that I will fund our alliance on an ongoing basis. In a world dominated by ADO and the CSP, it is vital that our nation focuses on bolstering each other's national security. My tablemates looked at me in trepidation. I do not expect you to join Rizia in its campaign on Palais, but I do expect our nations to come to one another's defense if that's the case. I'm gonna say... Yeah, I do not expect you to join Rizia in its campaign on Palais, but I do expect our nations to come to one another's defense if the need arises. Let's see. I propose a pooling and sharing of military assets. Rizia itself shall dedicate a substantial reserve of equipment towards this. Oil and gas agreements form the backbone of this alliance. I propose we work further towards establishing energy independence. A first step towards this will be the creation of a strategic energy stockpile towards which Rizia is prepared to contribute heavily. Or should I do, in addition to fulfilling our existing energy contracts, Rizia will make a yearly contribution towards a common energy pool. I'll go with the first one. That is my proposal. I hope that everyone is on board with it so far. The others seemed neither displeased nor particularly impressed. Now we have dedicated a portion of today's meeting to go through each nation's individual concerns about this alliance. With whom should we start? Supreme Wiseman Asmal, what does Dirtia think about the terms for Inter-Marcopan so far? I agree to everything. The Lord has truly smiled upon us this day, Your Majesty. As Saint Rurik himself foretold, our nations will rise like the great phoenix. Aleta. Welcome to our alliance, Supreme Wiseman. We are happy to help Dirtia end its years of isolation at last. Prime Minister Sultana, what reservations does the Republic of Morella have? None, Mr. Torres. She took a long glance around the table. At least I have no concerns about your kingdom's role in this new alliance. Should disagreements come up, you can count on Rizia to mediate them, as we have before. Thank you, Madam Prime Minister. We will do what we can to engender trust between you and the other intermarcopal members. A hush came over the room. That's it then. We have an alliance. Nations of Intermarcopum, unite. The hell. Let's see. This day shall go down in history. The others applauded. All of the individual points we discussed today will be formalized shortly, but for now I have prepared an official statement of intent for you all to sign. He unrolled a scroll of vellum on the table. The heading on it read Intermarcopum Declaration of 1957. One by one, my partners walked to the head of the table to sign it. Thank you once more for all your efforts, Mr. Torres. Alma Sultana printed her name in precise block lettering. We are uniting the ancestral lands of St. Rurik, just as the Lord had prophesied. He signed his name, then drew 6 stars around it. I slowly walked to the head of the table and picked up the pen. Sign as Ramus Taurus. I stood together with the other leaders of Intermarcopum, admiring our handiwork. It was done. My ambition of a South Marcopan regional alliance had been realized, but I still had a war to win. That I do. I do have a war to win. Intermarcopan rings. Okay, that's nice. The intricate system of interlocking rings representing the carefully crafted unity among Marcopa's many nations, an incredible feat given their many differences and interests. May it last for many decades to come. All right. Okay, we got a couple things that popped up. Tens of thousands of worshippers expected. Ruicist communities across the country have called upon their members to attend a planned mass prayer at the Plavo Sanctuary. The prayer, although religious in nature, is also expected to address political issues. What is going on? Kingdom of Rumburg. Oh, yeah. She's not going to be happy about that. Arcasian Treaty Organization. Arcasia offers aid, contemplating Arcasia's airline privatization offer. Arcasia, through its foreign minister Laurent Martel, has extended an intriguing offer. They propose to buy a significant minority stake in Rizian Royal Airways, offering to pay triple its value as a gesture of financial aid. This proposal, while presenting a lucrative financial opportunity, involves privatizing a portion of a key national asset and requires thorough assessment of its long-term implications for Rizia's strategic interests and national pride. I'm going to reject this just because it goes against the fact that we just founded an alliance to get away from these type of things. So yeah, reject. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Democratic Republic of Vogsland. Vogsland offers aid. Chancellor Emmerich Hagel of Vogsland has presented a proposal of significant mutual interest. Vogsland seeks the commercial access to a pier at the strategically important Port Drazen port. In return, they are offering substantial aid to Rizia, potentially enhancing our financial, logistical, and military capabilities. This agreement, while promising improved bilateral relations and economic benefits, also requires careful consideration of the strategic implications of granting Vogsland such access to one of our key maritime assets. Again, I am so sorry, but no, we're not going to be working with any of the superpowers. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you, Hagel, though. I appreciate it. Ado. Let's see. Intermarcopan Alliance declared. In a historic announcement, the countries of Rizia and Dirtia and Morella have revealed the formation of the Intermarcopum Alliance, an international pact meant to foster interdependence within South Marcopa and counter the influence of the superpowers. Initiated and heavily funded by King Ramis Taurus, this alliance is expected to considerably change the balance of power on the Marcopan continent. It also heralds a severing of ties between the kingdom and former stalwart allies Rumburg, adding to the Northern Giants' increasing isolation. Yeah, that's gonna suck because you're gonna get hit with sanctions and such. So, yep, high tea with Queen Beatrice. It's gonna be awkward. The grandfather clock in the tea room of Brambleton Manor let out a series of deep, resonant chimes. Queen Beatrice had invited me to her countryside retreat in Dateford for a one-on-one talk, but she hadn't filled me in on the subject. Reflecting on how the war in Palais was dragging on, however, I had an inkling what she wanted to talk about. I looked down at the table in front of me. A white porcelain plate and teacup was surrounded by roughly a draw's worth of silverware. No matter how many times I had high tea in Rumburg, I still didn't have a clue which spoon to use for what. Oh crap. I think it's middle, right, left. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Let's see. Rise to greet her. I rose from my seat in greeting. Oh, come now, Your Majesty. It's just us two. She gestured for me to sit down, then took her own seat across from me. A white-gloved server came by and poured us both tea, then set down a tiny bowl of sugar. Middle? I picked up the middle spoon and used it to stir some sugar in my tea. Beatrice smiled approvingly and did the same. So, Your Majesty, I suppose you know why I've asked you to join me here. Sorry, B, but Intermarcopum applications are closed at this time. As if I'd want any part in that. With the formation of your silly little regional alliance, you've turned your back on your most loyal of trade partners. And furthermore, our server returned with a silver tray of piping hot scones and a crystal ramekin of rosehip jam. Outer spoon? I picked up the outer spoon and used it to spread jam on one of the scones. You remember your tea etiquette. Very good. But that is not enough to mend the rift between us, Your Majesty. She drew herself upright and stared coldly at me. I have spoken to the others. Your Grace membership has been rescinded, effective immediately. A natural development. Geopolitical relationships evolve over time, after all. You'll never win your war without us, that much is certain. Our server cleared the uneaten scones from the table. Two of his colleagues delicately put down a towering etagere spilling over with petite force. Good God. Give Queen Beatrice the middle finger. You know what? Yeah, fuck you. I raised my middle finger in the air and showed it to the Queen. Beatrice recoiled in shock. So that's the way it is, after all these years. Good luck to you and your golden kingdom. You will need it. She stood up and left in a huff. As her attendants escorted me out of the room, I took one look back at the almost full cup of tea on the table. I never liked it anyway. Yeah, so fuck you. Guild of Royal Allies, notice of termination of Rizia's membership. After thorough deliberation, Grace has decided to terminate the Kingdom of Rizia's membership. This decision is reflective of the evolving dynamics within our alliance and the global political landscape. Our commitment to maintaining a cohesive alliance united by shared monarchist values necessitate this realignment. We remain focused on fostering strong relationships with members who fully embody our core principles. Yeah, good luck with anything in the future because y'all were getting cooked if it wasn't for me. You don't have my gold anymore and you don't have my oil. So along with those sanctions from Swordland, yeah, it's gonna suck a lot. A whole lot. All right, Territory of Zeal. Return of Zeal's speech. But first, we have a couple speeches. A couple news articles. Farewell, Queen Beatrice. We read this before in the previous playthrough, right? Oh, I'm thinking about what I did off camera. Um, our kingdom has officially announced its exit from the Guild of Royal Allies for commercial exchange, simultaneously severing our long-standing ties with the Kingdom of Rumburg. This decision can be seen as a stride toward economic sovereignty and a reassertion of Rizia's autonomy on the global stage. Under the guidance of His Majesty, Rizia embarks on this new journey with the aim of forging alternative trade agreements and nurturing domestic industries. Critics of the move have been quick to voice concerns over the immediate economic repercussions. However, the Royal Herald stands with the monarchy in its vision for a self-reliant future. Rizia falls from grace. Seismic news from Port Drazen. Rizia has announced that it is no longer a member of the Guild of Royal Allies for Commercial Exchange, the monarchist trade organization it has belonged to since forming an alliance with Rumburg in the 1930s. Rizia and Rumburg have appeared at loggerheads for some time. With this latest development, which is sure to have far-reaching economic and diplomatic consequences for both kingdoms, it is safe to say that their alliance is truly over. Boo-hoo. Return of Zeal speech. I am actually not going to go over this because we went over this in the previous playthrough. I actually did get Zeal back, so I'm going to go ahead and skip through this. I'm going to be very pro, Rizia and all that jazz and stuff. But yeah, there's nothing to really go over here. So, yep. See you. Oh my God. BRB. All right, Zeal is back in our territory, and I decided to make Zeal a part of Rizia Imperi, therefore strengthening our family in the process, but also not giving it back to House Saison. So, yeah. All right, from occupation to reunification, Zeal's journey to sovereignty. The return of Zeal to Rizia stands as a historic milestone ending decades of Wayland occupation amidst uncertainties surrounding the referendum. The Alliance of Nations' decision to intervene by sending in peacekeepers ensured that justice prevail. Yeah, this is pretty much saying the same thing. It doesn't mention that I'm putting it as a part of Rizia Imperi, so yeah. All right, on to the next. Okay. Invasion of Ballet, Victory Parade. Oh, yes, this is going to be lovely. I'm going to save real quick just because in case anything happens, I want to turn around and just rub it in Axel Reinhardt's face over and over again. It was a beautiful sunny day in Palais. Most of the city center was prepared for the Victory Parade. Everything seemed clean, as if nothing had happened here. However, if anyone went into the back alleys, to governmental buildings, to residential areas, one would find sandbags lying around and bullet holes on the walls. Nothing that couldn't be fixed in due time. I looked at the grandiose Castle Reinhardt. An oversized Rizian flag was flapping against the wind. I wondered if I should rename it. Yeah, I'm gonna name it Castle Ramus. I gestured to an aide and commanded him to rename the castle. The large doors swung slowly open, and I spurred my horse following the parade. The marching band started their song. Loud cheers rose from the crowds all around me as I slowly made my way through the capital. A child tried to approach my horse with a bouquet of roses. The Golden Guard held her back, just for her to approach and take the bouquet. I gestured for her to approach, and I took the bouquet. People clapped and cameras flashed. Rizian airplanes flew very close to the ground, deafening everyone. The infantry column, an unending sea of uniforms, was awaiting my salute. There was a thunderous sound as their boots all hit the ground at the same time. My eyes caught Major Tigris, now Colonel, in front of the column. I rolled past my tanks and mechanized forces. The long lines of drivers and vehicles simply did not end. I looked at the horizon towards the port of Palais. The Rizian fleet was covering the entirety of the Gulf of Palais, leaving no space for any other vessel. Each battleship deck was full of Marines. I could see them saluting from a distance. Salute them. I saluted our brave sailors. I was proud of every single one of them for defeating our enemy. In celebration, battleship cannons fired into the air. The parade finally stopped and I got off my horse. I patted him on the back. In front of me, on the grand stairs to my new palace, was Duke Reinhardt. Behind him was the throne of Palais. He was kneeling and looking at the ground. A half-burned Palatian flag landed on my foot. The wind must have brought it to me. Step on the flag. I stepped on the flag intentionally as I walked to the Duke. I heard some gasps. I approached the defeated man before me. That's it, Your Majesty. You've won. Palais surrenders. He took the crown from his head and presented it to me. Shoved the crown aside. I shoved the crown aside. It fell on the ground. Gasps were heard. I hope that you're satisfied. I have nothing else to say to you. You know, I think last time I made him kiss the ring, but this time, this is going to be a little bit more painful, Axel. Guards, take the former Duke to the prison. I want him tortured. Make him beg for his life. Tortured? What They pushed him and he fell. I watched as he was dragged away. I turned around and looked at Palais. The rays of sun were coming down from the clouds to paint the rooftops golden. I sat down on the throne of Palais. My throne. Yep, and now Palais is ours. The Treaty of Palais is the next thing that we have to do. Okay, what other, do we have any other things that we can do? Any royal decrees that we can do? I'm guessing nothing really matters at this point, so we'll go ahead and jump into this one as well. Treaty of Palais. It was time to officially declare our victory in the war as we gathered to get Duke Reinhardt's signature for the Treaty of Palais. We arrived at Castle Ramus as the marching band played the Rizian anthem. We entered the building and quickly made our way to the royal chambers, where the deal would take place. When the doors were opened for us, I saw Duke Reinhardt was already seated at the table. After exchanging handshakes, Lorenzo and I took our seats as well. As the aides laid the treaty in front of us, he started speaking. Thank you once again for your cooperation, Your Grace. Axel didn't respond. He had scars all over his face and seemed to be struggling to sit up straight. Well, let's just dive into it. He gestured at me to announce our terms. Let's see. As the King of Rizia, I hereby announce the complete annexation of the Grand Duchy of Palais. From henceforth, Palais will be a province of the Great Kingdom of Rizia, ruled by a governor appointed by and answerable to the central ruling authority. No, I'll give it to House Azaro. They can have it. This treaty establishes Palais as a province of Rizia and assigns its governance to House Azaro as a reward for its pivotal role in our victory. Axel didn't seem like he was in any condition to speak. The soldiers must have been hard on him. When they passed the papers to him, he slowly grabbed the pen. I saw his hands were trembling. We waited for him to sign the treaty. I'll wait. I watched as he kept struggling. He groaned in frustration as the pen slipped out of his hand. We don't have all day. The assistants held his arm and hands to give some support to him. Together, they managed to put his signature on the paper. Cheers and applause came from the Rizian delegates. And with that, Rizia is finally reunited with Palais. Glorious Axa Rizia. With the treaty finalized, we left the building to announce the news to the world. The war was officially over. Oh, and that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful that now we have a completely united Rizia. It's just beautiful. Just so beautiful. Oh, look at it. It's so beautiful. It's all just one thing. And I like that little touch too, that it's all just one thing. So very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. You gotta love it. All right, we got three news articles. Palais to become separate province, Azaro to reign. The newly acquired Palais territory, acquired as a result of our great victory, will form the base of the newly created province of Palais, which is set to also include all of the former Palais administrative district. The new province will be granted to House Azaro, who are expected to install their own governor into place, a generous reward to the house for being instrumental in the Rizian war effort. Final victory achieved. Palais to be incorporated into Rizia. It is done. King Ramesses' armies proved to be victorious, with the Grand Duchy of Palais officially admitting defeat and signing their full surrender. Not only is Rizia's southern border secured now, but Palais has finally been reunited with our great Golden Kingdom. Meanwhile, prosperity will be guaranteed due to the bountiful returns that are expected with the Orvis gas field, the dispute now solved for good. Crowds have already started gathering in cities across the country in celebration of our victory, a victory that belongs to all the Rizian people, but primarily to King Rames the Conqueror himself. Glorious Axa Rizia. Gonna name my son Aegon. Rizia victorious, Palais annexed. Rizian forces have emerged victorious in their invasion of the Grand Duchy of Palais, with the latter officially signing its complete surrender as part of the Treaty of Palais. The former Grand Duchy will be fully incorporated into Rizia, where it will become a part of the newly established Palais province, combining the former administrative district with the newly annexed territories. Beautiful. Just absolutely beautiful. We don't have to look at them being their own thing anymore. It's just a city. All right, Republic of Morella. Morella calls for quick return of those displaced. Morella has welcomed the signed peace treaty and is now calling for a quick return home for those who fled the conflict. The country is hosting many thousands of refugees, and while it has accepted them graciously, it is also keen on them returning home now that the conflict is over. Queen Beatrice extends congratulations. Queen Beatrice has congratulated us on our victory against Palais, calling it a turning point for monarchical power in Marcopa. She added that Rumburg remains committed to standing by Rizian, whatever threats we may face. But we're not allies anymore, so fuck you. Vigil for the Fallen. Thousands have gathered in Branes at the Blua Monte, the largest military cemetery in the country, to commemorate those fallen in the Palais War. The mood was very gloomy, with almost every family in the country knowing someone who was either injured or killed in the conflict. At the cemetery, over 23,000 soldiers are buried in sober, white-colored graves. I wonder what the total death toll was on our side versus Palais. Azaros celebrate acquiring Palais. The Azaros have hailed the acquisition of Palais into their territory, as the royal house becomes the first one to control two distinct provinces. The family expressly thanked King Rames as Azaro forces were dispatched to install order in the newly acquired region. Oh man, good luck with that. They're going to have their hands full with that, but also at the same time, as Palais are getting cooked, they are going to be dealing with the military backbone of our country, and this is a military backbone that is, been severely amped up. So, man, it's going to be rough on them for quite some time. The Republic of Kairut has welcomed the peace treaty in Palais, calling for a swift resumption of regular civilian life. The country highlights the need for reconciliation between Palaisian and Rizians after all the destruction that's been caused. I also like Kairut. I would like to play something with Kairut in a future DLC. Okay, what is the next thing we have? Fate of the prisoners. I didn't have this before. I always found the Port Drazen Citadel as majestic as it was unnerving. While with its long metal spires, the building emanated an aura of terrifying grandiosity. Just looking at it sent a shiver down my spine. In my study, a stack of papers were waiting for me. A matter of life and death. In that impenetrable prison, there were people residing on my orders. I had to decide on their fates. Punishment by execution. I decided to punish these prisoners by execution. These arrested prisoners have committed grave crimes against the crown and their king. Their punishment has to be decided on whether they should keep serving their sentence or they should meet the guillotine. Below, criminals are held in Port Drazen Citadel, waiting for the verdict. Which ones should be executed? Both of them. Who should we invite to watch the execution that will take place? Everyone. What should the method of execution be? Guillotine, hanging, firing squad, or electrocution? They'll hang. Guillotine is too fair, unless we put like a dull blade on it and it has to go up and down. I would like to do like the hanging from, I don't know if anyone has watched Black Sails before. I am not going to spoil who got executed, but there was a person of significance that died by hanging, but they had to do it on a basically on a long rope, or I think they called it a short rope or whatever. Basically they got on the back of a cart, and they had to walk off of it, preventing them from snapping their necks. So they just had to sit there and choke to death until finally some people came and broke the person's neck so they could die finally. Otherwise they would have been there for quite some time. So yes, hanging. Are you sure about your decision? Yep. I reviewed the papers once more. Press your seal on the wax. I pressed my ring on the wax, sealing the order. It was done. The decision has been made. I'm sure this is going to go over well in the international community. Palais. Army maintains order at parade. Any attempts of meaningful protest to our victory parade has been handled by military police units stationed in the former Palatian capital. While Pelagian opposition to our victory has largely been broken, small sectors of society still show willingness to resist our rule, necessitating preventative arrest to prevent a threat to public security. Rebuilding efforts underway. Efforts to rebuild Remus, Palais' second largest city after the brutal siege, are underway. At the center of the reconstruction process is a new Taurus column, complete with a golden bull at the top, being built on the Grand Market Square. Slowly, civilians displaced because of the war have started returning to the city. Attempted uprising quelled. An attempted uprising by Reinhardt loyalists, who remained in hiding ever since the war ended, has been successfully defeated by Rizian armed forces still present in the city. The lightly armed group attempted to unsuccessfully seize the harbor, hoping to allow a ship of their exiled comrades to moor. Unfortunately, our army could not prevent vandals from spraying anti-Rizian graffiti around town amidst the chaos. Reading, from Alka River to the Antician Sea, Palais will be free. Authorities have commenced the cleanup operation. There's that saying again. Ethnic Rizians take over empty homes. The newly installed Zeke's Major has started promoting the city inside of Rizia, offering homes left by fled Pelagians to Rizian citizens for cheap. This effort to change the ethnic makeup of the city has been strongly criticized by Pelagians, as it means many will never be able to return to their homes. Okay, don't like that. I wish I would have had some options over that. And I guess if I had done things differently, maybe not giving it to the Azaros, maybe if I had kept it, I could have probably changed that. But since I didn't, c'est la vie. Energy storage. Okay, we got a few things affecting us. A few things. Okay. Executions. One of the two bridges connecting the island of Port Drazen Citadel to the mainland was slowly lowered. The maximum security prison's tall metal gates opened, and a convoy of vehicles followed. The convoy was escorted on all sides by many police cars and armored police carriers. Soon they arrived at Plaza Drazia, a square in the city's center where public executions traditionally took place. The crowd's energy was very mixed. Some of them were cheering, some of them were curious, some of them were disapproving. The Scylla Orica had been placed on a balcony overlooking the plaza. The police were awaiting my orders. I gestured them to bring out the prisoners. I gestured to them to bring out the prisoners. The doors of the police vehicles opened. Police officers lined up the condemned next to the gallows. They all had black bags on their heads. I immediately recognized the subjects of my execution order, standing alongside a number of other inmates whose time had come as well. The executioner walked in after signaling the officers to leave. He was a short, pudgy-looking man. Nothing about him gave away the idea that his job was to kill people. He had an emotionless face, as if this was just a regular day for him, the same face a clerk would make when processing taxes. An involuntary shiver ran down my spine. He pulled the black bags off each inmate's head to reveal their faces. Calmly, he came before me and bowed, waiting for my instructions. I would like to speak to the death row inmates. He nodded and moved aside. Axel Reinhardt. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I will savor every second of it. I have lost everything. He fell on his knees on the ground. The guards helped him up on his feet again. Saul Ignatius. It is truly sad to see a once godly man indulge in such crimes against the crown. Curse you and your family, Ramus I. You deserve to die the same death that your father did. He spit on the ground. All of you. You will all be forgotten. I will remove you from the annals of history. I won't waste my breath on you people anymore. The executioner looked at me for the final order. Gesture for the executions to start. With an off-putting smile, he moved over to the line. The guards followed his lead. Soon after, all of them were on the gallows with ropes around their necks. Their hands were kept cuffed. The final rites were read to them, as well as prayers for the ones who requested it. The executioner held his hand up to signal. Later. His hand went down, and the signal was given. The rope was cut, and the wooden board beneath their feet gave way. They gasped for air. The entire plaza held their breath. I heard many gasps from the people. Camera flashes went off. Then slowly, clapping began from the crowd. After a short while, the jerking motions of the lifeless bodies stopped. They were no more. All right. I was hoping it would be ours and not geopolitical. Enemies of the crown executed. Large crowds gathered at Plaza Rizia to witness the execution of several enemies of the state, including Axel Reinhardt, Saul Ignatius, as well as some minor troublemakers. The prisoners, who were convicted for various crimes, were executed by being hanged. Crowds cheered as these traitors met their demise. At last, King Ramus no longer has to worry about bad actors standing in the way of his reign, as he will surely lead our glorious golden kingdom to greatness. Glorious Axa Rizia. All right. We have Mourning in the Palace. I'm assuming this is going to be when Lucida informs me of the baby. But let us see. The morning sun streamed through the windows of my chambers as I slowly opened my eyes. Lucida was standing by the bedside. She had an unusually intense expression on her face. Is something wrong, my wife? She hesitated nervously. Your Majesty, promise. There's something I need to tell you. I think I'm pregnant. What? Since when? A few months, maybe. Time was a blur during the war. I thought I was throwing up from nerves. I wasn't even sure how you would take the news. She hesitantly took my hand, resting the other on her abdomen. You needn't have worried, my love. I'm the happiest man in the world right now. She smiled and wrapped her arms around me. I love you, King Ramas. I love you, Queen Lucida. She kissed me on the forehead. Will you come with me to the palace doctors? Maybe they can already determine the sex. First things first. Titus, get in here. I'm going to be a father again. My bodyguard entered the room. He cast an eye over myself and Lucida, then reached out to shake my hand. This explains a lot. Congratulations, my king. I'm not going to make him the godfather because I'm guessing, we're on good terms, but, still. No time for chit chat. We've got to get Lucida to the doctor. Right away. Titus trailed a short distance behind as we walked down the palace corridors towards the medical wing. It's a good thing the Royal Council petition hearings are coming up. We can announce the marriage and pregnancy, then replace me almost immediately. I want you as my security counselor, Lucida. You're the best we've got. She blushed. A pregnant queen on the Royal Council. If we're lucky, the public will accept it. In the medical wing, we were received immediately by a group of nurses. Lucida was rushed into a side room that contained Rizia's most state-of-the-art ultrasound equipment. After less than half an hour in the waiting room, the doctors called me in and told me the news. My wife was just over 4 months along, and we were having a boy. All right, so my heir is here. Announcement of the prince-to-be. Oh, Vena's finna be so pissed. I stood with Vena on the back terrace of my palace in Monquise. Her palace now. Gray clouds hung low on the horizon. A strong wind was picking up, and waves crashed violently on the rocky cliffs below us. The same kind of storm had almost killed my daughter all those years ago. I had come so close to losing her. Now I had just told her she might lose everything. A television crew was waiting in the front sitting room. They were awaiting my official statement announcing my marriage and my soon-to-be-born son, the future king of Rizia, at least as the law would have it. I had met Vena here to tell her privately before informing the world. As I looked at her stony expression, I wondered if I had made a mistake. So I am to be a half-sister. I suppose congratulations are in order. She ran a hand along the terrace's golden-plated railing. I know that this is a lot to take in. Yes, it is. I've based my entire life on the idea that I was the future queen of Rizia. I went to so many balls and etiquette classes. I gave up the chance to be with the man I loved. All while you went about consolidating your power, even getting rid of the House of Delegates to keep yourself and your son in charge. She wrapped her kerchief tighter around her head as a gust of wind blew. Tell me, Father, what was it all for? Vena, don't you remember when we were sitting down there on the beach and I warned you that exactly this might happen? Circumstances have changed, haven't they? Her eyes brimmed over with fury. She stalked away and sat down heavily on the nearest settee. Let me just say this. The current succession law is sexist and outdated. The eldest child should inherit the throne, not the eldest son. But furthermore, I am Duchess of Valenquiris. The only person House Taurus loves more than me is Rico. If I am removed as heir to the throne, there will be hell to pay from my province. Damn. Don't threaten me, young lady. It's not a threat. It's the truth. Her head whipped towards the door. Lucida had come to fetch me. It had been a few months since her doctor's appointment in Port Drazen, and her belly was beginning to curve outwards. Vena curtsied politely. Hello, Duchess Azaro, or rather, Your Majesty. Please, Lucida will do just fine. I take it your father's told you the good news. They'll be ready for the announcement in 5 minutes, Ramus. I don't need 5 minutes. I know what I'm going to say. My wife and my daughter both smiled with confidence, then looked at each other suspiciously. Let's go then. The normally spacious sitting room of Palais Taurus had been filled with lighting and camera equipment, all pointed at the purple velvet divan against the back wall. Above it hung portraits of Anna Azaro and Ariana Torres. Lucida and I were seated. An assistant quickly refreshed our makeup. Vina was watching intensely from an armchair in the corner. The camerawoman counted down from 5. It was time for my royal address. That's right. Another speech from your king. I hope you're not sick of me yet. Allow me to present for the very first time Queen Consort Lucida Azaro. We were married by secret ceremony, the legitimacy of which shall not come into question. I shall never forget Princess Consort Lena, but Queen Lucida and I are happy to welcome new love into Palais Resna. There's more good news. We are having a child, a baby boy. Lucida placed a hand on my shoulder and smiled for the cameras. Ardos. Ardos Torres. Prince Thaddeus II would be cool too. I kind of like the name Thaddeus. Ramus II. I have a strong disdain, except for in royal situations, of naming, a child after yourself. My wife has already determined that our firstborn child will be named after me. I wanted no part in that. I wanted something different. And I've always thought it was pompous to name, your kids after you and stuff like that, especially in my case, because I have an extraordinarily normal name, but it also it sounds like a pompous kind of name in my opinion. So I really didn't want to carry that on. And I know it's going to get very pompous on down the line as soon as some thirds and fourths get introduced. But I do like the idea of Thaddeus II. It does honor the Azaros. I've already honored them enough though. So I shall name him Ardos after one of the most devout Ruus's disciples. I paused for dramatic effect. According to the traditions of this great kingdom, a monarch shall be succeeded by his or her eldest son. A woman can inherit the throne only if she has no brothers. According to the traditions of this great kingdom, a monarch shall be succeeded by his or her eldest son. A woman can inherit the throne only if she has no brothers. When I thought about whom I would want succeeding me, the answer was clear as day. Let's see. In accordance with Rizian law, I shall be succeeded by the son of Queen Consort Lucida Torres. In recognition of the contributions made by the Honorable House of Zaro to this kingdom, in accordance with Rizian law. Lucida squeezed my shoulder. Her eyes were shining with gratitude. As we have made a break from Rumburg and Grace, it seems only fitting that our former patrons will no longer have a place in the Rizian line of succession. Ooh, damn. I could throw an extra dig there, but if my son possesses half the intelligence and keen judgment of his mother, he will be one of the finest kings Rizia has ever known. I don't want to be too bad about it. I heard a flurry of steps from the other end of the room, then the sound of a door closing. Vina had left. The camerawoman signaled for me to wrap things up. Your queen and I are so excited to begin this new chapter. Glorious Axa Rizia. The recording light switched off. Okay, now what are we gonna do with Vina? Address to the nation. A warm welcome to our new prince. In a televised announcement, our beloved monarch Ramnes Taurus and new queen consort Lucida Azaro joyously informed the nation of the impending birth of their son, Ardos. The revelation has ignited waves of celebration throughout the kingdom, with citizens expressing their heartfelt congratulations and eager anticipation for the future heir to the throne. The royal couple's decision to share such personal milestones on television marks a new era of openness in the monarchy, strengthening the bond between the royal family and the people of Rizia. As we rejoice in this double blessing, the kingdom looks forward to the day we welcome our new prince, securing the lineage and future of our cherished monarchy. Rufus Gragg's royal gossip, the king's new family? Anyone who's been paying attention could see the signs of romance blossoming between our unwed king and the equally eligible bachelorette, Lucida Azaro. So it came as no surprise when His Majesty revealed to the nation that the Azaro heiress was now his lady wife. The new bombshell, though, was that the two were having a son. The double announcement will, of course, invite room for speculation. Just when was this shotgun wedding? Before or after the moment of conception? But it's indisputable that when baby Ardos is born, he'll be the child of married nobles, making him a 100% legitimate princeling. What does the older Taurus sibling think about this? Princess Vina could not be reached for comment. All right, address to the nation. I entered the grand reception hall to make my address to the nation speech. The hall, usually echoing with the rare footsteps of courtiers, was transformed into a noisy chaos as the filming crew set up cameras, lights, and microphones in place. I was seated at the room's center behind a grand antique desk of dark mahogany, its surface cleared except for a single neatly arranged stack of papers. After the makeup crew brushed various powders on my face, I reviewed my notes briefly. It was a big day. It was time for Rizia to celebrate the great unification. I took a deep breath, my gaze lifting to meet the lens of the camera. And then, with a nod from the director, the red light blinked on and I began to speak. Great people of Rizia. With profound reverence and love, I extend my blessings to each of you and my cherished flock under the watchful eyes of the divine. I'm happy to have this opportunity to talk to you about the current state of affairs in Rizia, as well as its hopeful future. Almost 8 years ago, I took the throne to serve our Rizia, to bring prosperity to this glorious kingdom. Throughout my reign, I have been uplifted and sustained by the knowledge that your thoughts and prayers were with me. I looked directly into the camera. When I started on this path, some did not believe I could take it to the end. I proved them all wrong. Today there is much to celebrate, to look back and feel proud of ourselves. Almost 4 years ago, Palais openly attacked our ships, including the RN Valero, and tried to blockade our gas field, and we made them pay for it. I salute the men and women who have served their duties for the kingdom and contributed to this great victory. As a result, we decided on the complete annexation of the Grand Duchy, unifying back with Rizia. So let's take this moment to celebrate our victory. This is the beginning of the rise of Rizia. I took a deep breath. On top of that, despite President Smolek's best attempts against it, we finally managed to bring Zeal back to Rizia. And thus the great unification is complete. Zeal, the heartland that has long pulsed with the spirit of Rizia despite the shadows that fell upon it, is once again where it truly belongs. I know some people had concerns about the closure of the House of Delegates. The decision was not made out of a desire for control, but to steer our kingdom through turbulent waters with a steady hand, ensuring stability and security for all. But that's not all. With the establishment of Intermarcopum, the future of Southern Marcopa is in our hands. Together with Dirtia and Morella, we will be walking into the future with more confident steps. In the realm of commerce, we have forged new trade deals that have opened new horizons for our products, bringing Rizian craftsmanship and ingenuity to the global stage. I am proud of the new energy infrastructure we have created. We have brought power to countless homes and businesses, both here and abroad. Moreover, our recent negotiations with the Republic of Morella have culminated in a historic agreement concerning the MITS operations. This accord not only increases our share of the resources greatly, but also sets a precedent for future cooperation and growth. Our transportation infrastructure has seen unprecedented growth and modernization, connecting every corner of our kingdom with roads, railways, and bridges that are the arteries of commerce and community. We took actions with the belief that labor rights are the cornerstone of a society that values the contributions of each individual and recognizes the strength of our economy rests on the foundation of a contented and healthy workforce. In embracing diversity in belief and worship, we've cultivated a culture of mutual respect and understanding, a testament to the idea that our differences are not a source of division, but our greatest strength. My beloved people of Rizia, as we stand at the crossroads of history, reflecting on the journey behind us and gazing into the promise of tomorrow, we are reminded of the enduring strength and resilience that define us. In chapters yet unwritten, I pledge to you. I will focus on improving our economy and greatly expanding our industries to reach our full potential. Rizia will soon surpass our neighbors in every way possible. I will commit to innovation and excellence in science, in art, in every field of endeavor, making Rizia a luminary on the global stage. I will uphold peace and security, both within our borders and in our relations with the world. With the authority vested in me by the very essence of our kingdom, I decree the continuation of our absolute monarchy, ensuring that the crown remains the pinnacle of power and decision-making in Rizia. Glorious Axa Rizia. I nodded at the camera crew. They stopped filming. My 10th year was almost over. A few months after your speech, all the preparations were complete for your 8th year jubilee. You were to receive visitors for the celebration of your coronation anniversary. Sitting on your throne, you looked to your right. Queen Lucida smiled at you with baby Ardos in her arms. You might need to put a space there. Remembered why you fell in love with her. With your one gesture, the orchestra cued in, and the festivities began. Hugo was the first one to pay respects. He came before your throne, bowed, and told you he was looking forward to another year of advising you. Welcomed him with open arms. You looked around the ballroom. Your eyes met with Thaddeus of House Azaro. He approached the throne and bowed. You, thanked House Azaro for its service to the crown. There were no members of House Saison among the well-wishers. With no strong leader at the helm, the Saisons were in constant spats with each other, leading to gridlock. You, wished them the best in a letter. Delegations from the AN and Intermarcopum were standing around and arguing and discussing matters between each other. You could sense the tensions between them. You called upon them to tell them this was a joyous occasion, not a political arena. Called upon them to tell them this was a joyous occasion, not a political arena. The grand doors to the ballroom opened, and Vina walked in. The entire hall fell silent, captivated by the princess's beauty and elegance. She looked just like her mother. As the orchestra struck up a fast-paced tune, she walked up to you and gave you a polite kiss on the cheek. You... hoped she wasn't plotting anything. You stood up and gathered Ardos in your arms. He laughed and pulled your hair. You could tell he was going to be strong, just like his mother. The whole room's attention was directly at you. You... told everyone to have fun and enjoy the celebrations. Your subjects' applause resonated loudly through the ballroom. You put your child on your throne. And so begin the days of Prince Ardos of House Taurus, the heir apparent. And there we are. So we have completed the second run. History will remember you as Ramus the Great. I was definitely on the monarchist side. So yeah, I don't know what other kind of combinations you can do. I'm very curious about that whole military thing that Thaddeus wanted. I would be very curious to see if you can do something with that. I'll probably, lounge around on Reddit and stuff like that and on the Discord to see if I can find any more info about that. And I might do that in my spare time. But yeah, that was very much I like this. I definitely like this. I always like playing the cheat playthroughs and stuff like that. And I might do more of these in the future also, considering the response to it. I was actually thinking that not that many people was going to watch a playthrough of me basically just running through the game, cheating in the process. But, apparently there was a lot of people that liked it. So I may do more of these in the future. Between 1950 and 1958, 151,698 soldiers and 238,965 civilians have died in the Second Rizzo-Pelasian War. Millions of Rizians in Zeal officially reintegrated back to their homeland, and thousands of foreigners left the territory. 119,498 non-Rizians were forced to flee from the Zeal territory. 438,211 labor hands have acquired full rights as workers. Thousands of believers of Nurity have de-radicalized. 9,345 women joined political life. 178,213 women have joined the workforce. 13,852 jobs were created in the high-tech military industry. Intermarcopum became the fourth most influential alliance in the globe. The country became the 9th in the world to decriminalize homosexuality. 75 billion cubic meters of gas was transferred from the ore's field, and 59,175,353 tons were mined from the midst zone by Rizia. Good Lord. So that is quite a bit. We are going to be rich beyond rich. And yes, I want to end this. All right, so that completes everything. So yeah, that was definitely a lovely playthrough. I enjoyed every second of that. I am going to be playing much more of this. I really do like the Rizia DLC. I will say it again. I think I actually do like the Rizia DLC more than I like the main game. And again, it's not that I dislike the main game or anything like that. It's just that there's more mechanics in there. There's a lot more storytelling and things like that. I do kind of wish I had some more personal moments too, because I do feel like to a certain degree there were more personal moments in the main game per se, but yeah, there's not as much, or there's not as many personal moments in this DLC, and it's kind of odd considering the fact that this DLC is over 8 years and you really don't have too many personal moments in there. But again, like I said, I really did enjoy this. It's still one of my favorites, and again, Suzerain still reigns supreme as the best political sim I've ever played. Again, to name some other ones that I can think of that, I like a lot. Crisis in the Kremlin. It is a very, very good political sim. And it's also similar to Suzerain in many ways, except it's more of a political sim. You have a lot of alternate history situations going on because you're running the USSR. If you can figure out how to play the game, or if you can cheat like I do, it's a very fun thing to turn around and do, because you're going up against the United States, and you're going against Europe, and you're trying to have communism rule the world and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to play as. I played a lot of that game. I don't play it as much now because a lot of the cheats and things that I use in the past don't work as well as they used to back in the day. And it's very difficult to turn around and to cheat on that game, because I have to use cheat engine, and it's trying to find the variables, and there's constant things that I have to do in order to keep the game from failing me, because that is an incredibly hard game. That game is ridiculously hard. But I really do like it. They have a lot of typos because I believe the company that makes it, Kremlin Games, is Russian. Therefore, there's a lot of localization issues as far as translations and stuff goes. But again, great game. I really do like it. Another game I like as far as the political side of things go. Was the China Mao's Legacy. I've played a lot of that recently. Again, a similar situation when it comes to cheats and stuff like that. It's they've actually put a cheat system in the game now, so you can actually just use the menu that they have in the game to cheat, and it's very fun to do so. Again, because you're playing alternate history, you're playing the rise of China. You can steer China with the original beliefs of Mao and try to make it as communist as possible, or you can change China and make it into something like the United States, where you have full-blown democracy and stuff like that. Again, I really like the idea of that, because again, you have alternate history there, and it's just interesting to see how things play out. So again, another one of my favorites. And they also have a very interesting mechanic as far as the politics go, because you have like the different ministers you have, and you have to kind of constantly do things to keep them from gaining influence and possibly overthrowing you and stuff like that. And you have military situations and so on and so forth. But yeah, just the alternate history aspects of it are very interesting, and I really like it. So again, that's another one of my favorite. And again, from Kremlin Games also, Collapse. I haven't played Collapse in a long time. There's a playthrough of Collapse on the channel if you would like to see it. But they've done a lot of updates to that game. They've made a lot of changes to it. I know they have like an alliance mechanic in it now, where you can build alliances or agree to certain alliances with different parties and things like that. I believe in my playthrough, I managed to turn around and get a one-party state and ban all the other parties and stuff like that. They've changed it a lot now, so you can't do that. It's not as easy to turn around and do it. But again, really like the game. But again, and I really like Kremlin games in general. It's just a lot of localization issues. It's a lot of localization issues and a lot of issues as far as translations and stuff like that. So, you have to kind of understand or just kind of guess at certain things. It's kind of hard to interpret mechanics and stuff. But again, they have a lot of great political games, and I highly encourage anyone who really does enjoy Suzerain to play those games. But yeah, you don't find anything like Suzerain. Like I said, Suzerain is definitely unique in so many ways. And again, I've never played a political game like this, and I definitely look forward to seeing more. I know they have the Conformist coming out. It has a Disco Elysium vibe to it, and I'm very intrigued by that. Unfortunately, I played Disco Elysium, and I cheated in that, of course. But I played Disco Elysium, long after the game had came out. I played the final cut. I started playing the original game, but it was so much reading, and I had already been through like Pathfinder and stuff like that. So I had a really hard time trying to go through another game where I had to do so much reading. But when they made the final cut and everybody had voices and stuff like that, I went through it. I think I spent several days playing that game. And I had some 12-hour sessions, some 14-hour sessions. I had several day and night sessions. I was playing it on my laptop. I would get done on my laptop, and then I would play it on my Steam Deck. So yeah, I had a lot of playtime with that game. So I really did enjoy it. But unfortunately, by the time I got really into Disco Elysium, the things that happened with their corporation and the creators of the game happen, and we're never going to get a Disco Elysium 2, unfortunately. But yeah, again, I like the fact that we do have the Conformist coming out soon, or hopefully soon, from the creators here at Torpor Games, and we get to see some more of the Suzerain universe. But I'm very curious again on where they're going to go after this. They have so much lore here. I've never seen lore like this. I think the only other game that I can think of with lore that's even remotely close to this is like Pillars of Eternity. That's the only thing I can think of that has such deep lore outside of like Pathfinder, of course. But yeah, that's the only one that I can think of that has so much lore in it that you can just spend hours just being in it, and there's so much detail in it and stuff. But again, I definitely want to see more. I would really be interested in playing as Ankara in the next DLC. I know they have the whole pirate thing and stuff like that, and it would be interesting playing as a country that's not going through some type of turmoil or something like that. Even though I think they did have turmoil in the past, so maybe that would have some impacts there. But to play as an actual superpower, in your own right, and not a country that's aspiring to be a superpower. I would like to play as a country that can throw some weight around and stuff like that. Your Rumburgs, or your Arcasias, or United Contana, or something like that. But I would really like to see that in the next DLC. The ability to play as someone who has a lot of power, who can project a lot of power, who can throw their weight around, conquer their neighbors and stuff like that, and upset the balance of things. That's what I would like to see in the future of, Rizia's DLCs. Again, it's going to be a little weird. I was very skeptical about the DLC when it was first announced because it was going in the past, and I wondered how that was going to work out, especially after they announced that it was going to be the past, but also, going into or using data from your previous save and Solon. So I was very curious about that, but it worked out just fine. So I'm very curious on seeing how the next DLC will work if we're going further back in the past. And, again, you're not going to see certain characters, but maybe it's going to be a longer span. Maybe it's going to be 20 years the next time or something like that. So, who knows? But yeah, I'm looking forward to more Suzerain. I'm looking forward to more in the Suzerain verse. And yeah, that's another completed playthrough. So I don't have really any plans on what's to play going forward. I'll probably take a couple days off to, kind of see what's out there. I've seen a couple games that I've thought about. A game that just came out last night that I was thinking about playing called Jawbreaker. It's a horror game, but it looked interesting, and it's made by I'm not sure who it's made by, but I know some of the games that that company has made, and I really did enjoy seeing playthroughs of those games. So that's a game that I was kind of interested in. I don't really have any other political games in mind that I was thinking about, but again, any comments, any suggestions or anything like that, again, please feel free to leave it in the comment section, and I will get to it, and I will look at it and take it in consideration, because I really don't have anything on the menu for us for the next thing that I will serve up. Another game that I was thinking about playing is also Crow Country. Crow Country, I think it comes out in early May. That's the only other thing that I was thinking about. I also considered Persona. I'm not sure about copyright strikes and stuff like that, but Persona 3 has a special place in my heart. Persona 3 was one of the it wasn't one of the first games that I purchased. It was one of the first games I purchased as far as like when I started working and things like that. Or, well, no, I think I was still in school when Persona 3 came out. But it holds a special place in my heart as one of my favorite games. And when I say it's my favorite game, I still have my original copy of Persona 3. I still have my original copy of Persona 3 FES. So yeah, it's definitely one of my all-time favorites. I had Persona 3, Persona 3 FES, and Persona 3 Portable, and I've played through all of them. So yeah, it definitely holds a special place in my heart, and I would like to possibly play that on the channel. There's Persona 5. I did play a little bit of Royal, but it didn't get any traction as far as views go on the channel, so I went ahead and abandoned that pretty quickly. So that's always something. And of course, I saw Shin Megami Tensei Vengeance is coming out pretty soon, but I think that's in July. So that's also something that I was considering on the channel, because I've never played Shin Megami Tensei. I've always wanted to play it, but for financial reasons and stuff like that, I never got around to it. And by the time I actually did get to a point where I was buying my own stuff, it was very hard to find Shin Megami Tensei, a physical copy of it. It's easy nowadays to find copies of games because mostly everything is digital, but yeah, it was pretty hard back in the day to find a copy of like Digital Devil Saga and Shin Megami Tensei and things like that. So but yeah, that's also something I was thinking about on the channel. But again, any suggestions, I am open. It could be anything. I will consider it. Anything outside of an MMO or anything like that. But yeah, any suggestions, doesn't matter if it's horror, doesn't matter if it's interactive fiction or whatever. But yeah, I'm open for all suggestions. So I'll go ahead and end this here, and in the next video, I'm not sure what the next video will be, but there will be more, of course, from the House of Draken. So if you like the video, like the video. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe. I have a lot of things on the channel, and I will have many more things in the future. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave it in the comment section, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So thank you for watching another series, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.